You're live. Okay. Payson, you ready?
That's Savannah. I was organizing now. Let Savannah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this special meeting started. Special meeting Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Supervisor Klein's here, Supervisor Christensen's here, Supervisor Humphrey's here. And so I'm going to call this to order. Mr. Dave Rogers, would you mind saying leading the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have no invocation this morning. It's a special meeting. And so anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. A regular agenda item, information, discussion, action to canvass the election results contained in the official canvass of the primary election held on July 21st, 2026 in Gila County, Arizona, and declare the results as being official. Alfonso. Okay, Supervisor Klein, do you have questions? Did everything go good?
Everything went just according to everything we had planned. We had some storms. We had just some minor just timing issues, but everything went good.
Good, thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Do you have new machines this year?
We had new poll books. The counting machine is the same, and the express vote, which is the one that we use for the visually impaired, those are the same. But the machines that we use for the voter at the polling place, those where people check in, those are new, and the ballot printing machines also.
Okay. That all went well?
Yes, it was the first time we were using it. We had an ESNS tech here with us, and he provided support, but everything went just...
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't reach out to you earlier, but I think the day after the election, I reached out to County Manager, Mr. O'Driscoll. I received a call from the mayor of Globe and from the mayor of Miami asking me about, they said something about he said they didn't know the rumor or where it started, but there was something like 150 ballots that weren't counted that day or something. So we have people online and we have people that may have the same questions that the mayors did. And so if you could maybe kind of enlighten me on that.
So I constantly have communications with all the clerks. So that email, that information was probably from the email I sent. I provide updates every single day of what we're doing and the progress we've made with the counting of the ballot. So I imagine it was probably not the day after the election, but probably for that Thursday morning, because I told them that we had around 150 ballots that had to be duplicated. That's just a normal process that we do for the mail-in ballots. So somebody sends a ballot in and they vote it in their house. Sometimes it'll have stains, sometimes it'll be damaged. We had some that were water damaged, and sometimes they're gonna have voter intent. So sometimes somebody votes for two candidates, but only one of them is the actual one that they wanted. So they make a mark on the ballot, and then that way telling us, you know what, I wanted candidate A instead of candidate B. So those we have to duplicate, and it's a manual process. We have a board, we have a Republican and Democrat, and they see the ballot, and then they have a new ballot, and they transfer those votes, the ballot votes, onto the new ballot. And those, but it's a process, and it takes time. So when we tabulated the bulk, the 99% of everything that we had, we still had a remaining 150 ballots that night, and it was already like 8 or 9 p.m. So we just sent an email saying, these will leave for in the morning. As soon as we get in, we'll process those, and we'll update the results accordingly. So that was, but it's part of the process.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of those were mail-in.
Yes,
ballots.
Mail-in ballots. Well, actually, all of them were mail-in.
All of them were mail-in, and when they come in and you see that there's an issue with them, you just set those aside, so you can continue with the other ones.
And that way we could.
And then you work on those.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the explanation, because like I said, I did have a couple calls. So thank you for the email that was sent out so people knew, so that there wasn't
Yeah.
anything.
And we update everybody. So I send that email to all the clerks and also people that call and they want to be part of the update. They could call me and then we'll just send those emails along with everybody else. It's 100% transparent.
Yes.
That's right.
Thank you very, very much for that and for answering that for me. So if there's no further questions,
I got one.
okay, go ahead.
Alfonso, what was our turnout this year?
We have
What percentage was it?
it was 30, we had 38.5%.
38?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's about I think it was like a 10% drop from the previous, but it was across the state. It was a 10%, but we were still second in the state for turnout.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to canvass the election results contained in the official canvass of the primary election held on July 21st, 2026 in Gila County, Arizona, and declare the results final or official.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Yes, 2A passes unanimous. And so does that make for a new council there, Mr. Storm? A new council member? Congratulations and welcome to the city council.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to regular agenda item 2B. Information discussion action to approve the renewal of Varnis Secretary Software Licensing through CDW Government LLC, utilizing Omnia Partners / City of Mesa contract number 2024056-01 for a 3-year term in the total amount of $180,264.75, including applicable sales tax with annual invoicing. Carrie Bartlett, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. This is our Verona software. This is a software that has actually helped us a lot. So this software is one that will actually, it watches every touch any server's made. If you click on something, we know it. You know, it comes across, and a lot of the ones that we're looking at right now is we get a lot of emails for the county attorneys, and it's just work that they're doing, but it helps secure the data. You know, saying, hey, all these files were moved, you know, and it emails me and lets me know. So that's what this software is. It keeps us secure, keeps us to make sure that everybody is doing what they should be doing and not touching things. So this is just a renewal for that. And yeah, I can answer any questions if you have any.
Supervisor Klein, any questions?
I don't have any, Carrie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Christian.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
And I have no questions, so I'll call for a motion.
Chair, I'll move to approve the renewal of Verona's security software licensing through CDW Government LLC, utilizing Omnia Partners, City of Mesa contract number 2024056-01 as presented.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying
Aye.
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 Aye. Passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 2C, information discussion action to approve contract number 212816-01-GC3 with Empire Southwest LLC for 2026 Caterpillar 826 landfill compactor lease purchase for the period of 7 years for total amount not to exceed $1,300,708.08 plus applicable sales tax. Mr. Troy White, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Pretty simple. This is just to buy a brand new compactor for the landfill. I think it's the first new piece in about 15 years. Our existing compactor is pretty old. We get a lot of breakdowns with it. And number one issue with it is it's too light. As you know, in the previous presentation we did to the board, that has a lot to do with why cell 3A filled up too quickly. By getting this compactor, it's going to ensure us that the new cell 3B doesn't have those same issues. and that the life of that cell 3B can go on for 15 plus years. This goes a long way in ensuring that because it's the right size, the right weight to get the right compaction on the landfill. So multifaceted reason why we need this compactor. The old one's breaking down on us all the time. It's aging out, it's too light. And this one will ensure the longevity of the new cell 3B. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Supervisor Klein.
Troy, what were we gonna do with the old compactor? You getting rid of it or keeping it?
No, we're gonna keep it. It's good to be used in real tight spaces when we get, especially to finish out 3A as we work up the cone and it gets tighter. There is a purpose for these lighter, smaller compactors. So we do plan on keeping that and using it for those purposes.
So this 7 years on this lease, Empire will do all the maintenance on it, mechanical work.
That's correct. That's the beautiful thing about these leases, is they will do all the maintenance on this for the 7 years. Correct.
Thanks, Troy.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Yeah, Troy, we need 2 of these. We already talked about it,
You do.
but this will be our first one. Now, is it significantly heavier? I mean, like tons and tons heavier? Is that the secret to this one?
It is. It's significantly heavier. I don't know the exact tonnage over, but it's significantly different and it's significantly larger.
We get more compaction, more longevity. It pays for itself.
Oh, over time, yeah, it will
Yeah.
pays for itself. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have no questions. If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve contract number 212816-01-GC3 with Empire Southwest LLC as presented.
I will second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Passes unanimous. Okay, moving on to D, information, discussion, action to ratify previous expenditures and authorize future expenditures with Payson Concrete and Material Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of certified aggregate for county-maintained Forest Service roads in the amount not to exceed $754,682.
Thank you, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. This is exactly what it's for, is to get aggregate from Payson Concrete. This is 100% reimbursable by the Forest Service, so that $754,682 is going to come directly back to us once we invoice the Forest Service. And this is really to maintain those Forest Service roads, specifically the control road, but there's other roads that we're going to be using the material on as well. We need to have this spent by the end of September because Forest Service needs to use this for their current fiscal year. By approving this today, we don't see any issues with getting this moving forward and getting this material delivered by the end of September so that we can fully utilize this gift of $754,682 from the Forest Service. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Troy, we can run right up to the end of September on this, or does the feds have a cutoff earlier in September for their fiscal year?
Yeah, as long as they're invoiced by the end of September, then we're good to go to the end of September. But we have to have that last invoice submitted by the end of September. So we need to be getting them from Payson Concrete to get them over by the end of that date. So if we move now, we're in good shape to make this happen.
Yeah, we should move quite a while back, but
Yep.
boy, this is a start in the
This is
right direction.
We got a little jump start that we weren't supposed to get, but anyways,
Yeah,
we're a little ahead of the game. but
Thank you.
We need to get moving. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Are we allowed to pay for the material from Payson Concrete and pick it up, say, all the way into November? I mean, if we run out of time, we could pay for the material, just not have it delivered yet. It's a possible.
Supervisor Christian, that's a good point. One of the things that we're going to keep an eye on is, and I've talked to Wayne and his crews, if it looks like we're running close, we've already talked to Payson Concrete. We're going to be able to send our guys with our trucks over there to pick it up. We really want to have it done by the end of
Yeah.
September. And we think we can make that happen without using our guys. But if we see we're running close to the finish line, then we'll send our guys out there and start picking up as well. So
this is granite, it's not buckhead, it's not.
I'm not sure of the exact mix that they required. I think that's somewhere on the staff report, but it's It's the exact material that the Forest Service wants us to use on their Forest Service roads.
Okay, thank you, Troy.
You're welcome.
So all of this material is going up in the north part of Gila County?
I believe we're stocking it at several pits and we can use it on, whatever roads we need to use it on. I know the majority of it's going up there. I wouldn't say all of it's going to go up on the northern part of the county, but I think we're going to use it on roads throughout the county. But the majority of it's going to go for the control road and the 64, I believe it is, that Wayne was telling me is what the contract that we have with the Forest Service was for the control road. So that's why the majority of it is going to be used on the control road, because that's specifically the contract with the Forest Service is for that road. But we know that we're going to have more than we need there, so we're going to stockpile it and use it on other roads throughout the county.
Okay, yeah, this is for Forest Service roads that we maintain.
Correct. Yes.
And so we maintain Forest Service roads in southern Gila County as well.
Correct. Yeah, there's a specific contract we have with them for the control road, that this funding is coming off of that contract for the work we were doing on control road,
Okay.
that the Forest Service was paying for, but we do plan on having excess material that we can use throughout the county.
Oh, yeah, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to ratify previous expenditures and authorize future expenditures with Pace and Concrete Materials Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of certified aggregate for county-maintained Forest Service roads in the amount not to exceed $754,682.
I'll second that.
Okay, yeah, next time if we do something like this, instead of say Forest Service roads, just say it's for the control road, because this is Forest roads, service roads is extremely misleading.
Yes, sir. Understand. It is.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved unanimously. Okay, moving on. The next item is to approve consent agenda item 3A. Does anyone want to remove consent agenda item 3A and discuss it as a action item?
Nope.
No, sir.
Okay, then I will call for a motion to approve consent agenda item 3A.
So moved.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Consent agenda item 3A passes unanimous. Going on to work session. 4A. Information discussion on the feasibility and estimated cost of adding a secondary internet connection for county buildings. Redundant internet connection for Gila County.
Thank you, Carrie.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. I have Tom Homan with me also. He is core of knowledge on our environment here, so I brought him in. We currently have two endpoints with the county, or we have two main endpoints with the county. The two main endpoints that we have is our courthouse here. Our courthouse, people don't realize that if the connection at the courthouse goes down, it doesn't only affect the courthouse. It affects, why did I go back again? It affects the Guerrero building, the Copper building, the SO admin building, the SO patrol building, the SO jail. So our connections not only control the connections here in the courthouse, it controls a lot of your connections on the outer lane ones, because we have fiber running to all of those locations. It also, if our connection goes down here, it also affects Payson, because any of our servers or anything that we have here, if our connection goes down, they no longer have access to their files. They no longer have access to their applications. So, and then in the Payson, your TCM building, we have at the Payson jail is our main connection there, but we also have a fiber that runs from our TCM building over to the Payson jail, which the Payson jail's connection, that one also runs our health department right next door. It runs the probation. It runs the courthouse. It runs the TCM building. So all of our connections right there. I mean, it's amazing how many just one connection, makes a difference on how many things it runs. So what we're looking at doing is adding a secondary connection. I know Supervisor Christensen had talked to me about it also, is adding a separate secondary connection at those. At those locations. So a secondary connection here at the courthouse is what we're looking at. Is we reached out to Sparklight, and our secondary connection here would be about $9.15 a month if we were to add a secondary connection here. That, and then your secondary connection for the TCM building, which controls over to the SO, would be like $8.75 a month, and those each are gig connections. So it would be like an immediate failover if something went down, or pretty much we would have to work on doing some configurations and stuff on that. So with the cost, with the two of them, it would be an additional $17.90 a month with that, and then like $21,480 a year. So is what we would be looking at. The secondary connection, what it does is it gives us continuity.
Continuity.
Thank you. Continuity for the applications. We have a lot of applications that are currently going to the cloud. Our phones are now in the cloud. So if we lose internet connections, our phone go down. So if we were able to have that secondary connection, it would always, it's not always, but it would allow us to be able to have phones at all times if anything was to go down. With the secondary connections with New World's currently in the cloud. So if we were to have that secondary connection, our connection goes down, it would roll over to that secondary connection, and it would allow us to be able to still have connectivity to the New World applications. And then also with court proceedings and stuff. Say our connection here at the courthouse go down, and there's a court proceeding going on, and it's between Payson and here. If something happens with that and one of our connections goes down, that hurts the court proceeding. So if we had that secondary connection, so our tunnel stays up at all times, it would help with that also. So do you have any comments on that?
No, but I'd just add that, Carrie's talking about the applications that go to the cloud. I mean, community development is fully hosted. Public Works, their cartograph software is again fully hosted. So those also would have an immediate reliability benefit. So if we lose the internet connection, community development would not be able to issue permits.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of things tied to the internet, so. Still to confirm, we're still working with Sparklight just to verify the contracts and stuff, and, if there's additional charges for like how many years they're wanting the contract to be and things like that. So, and then we would also have to work with our vendor on creating that failover connection. Because with the failover connection, there's a lot of things that have to be configured in our firewall and our routers and stuff. So we'll have to look at that. Also, the recurring costs, the request, we're looking at, just pretty much letting y'all know what we're looking at doing. So we'll probably have to come to you guys on it. Is the recurring cost of the gig connection at each of the locations. So, and then that was it. And if you guys have any questions, I can answer them. Tom can answer them. So
Supervisor Klein.
Carrie, Tom, thank you. So I could see the value in this right off the bat, but I have a question for you. So if we have two lines basically, so are they both going to be in use at the same time, or will one be set and idle in case the other one comes down? Is that the way it's looked at?
yeah, so one will set idle and be available if the other one goes down.
Okay. And if so who handles our line now? I mean, you're talking to Sparklight, you said?
So I'm looking at Sparklight as our connection. Currently we're with Skatui is currently who we're with.
Well,
Okay.
that's for Globe up in Payson.
Yeah.
It's
Loop-
Optimum.
Optimum, yeah.
Okay, but this line, if you went through Sparklight, if that's where it ends up, they'll do the one in Payson as well. It'll all be Sparklight.
Correct,
Okay, so we'll have two completely different carriers.
correct.
Okay,
Right, that allows one carrier to undergo maintenance or somebody hits a power pole
mm-hmm,
and takes out the connection.
mm-hmm,
You know, by
Okay.
having the different vendors, we achieve that continuity.
good, thank you.
Supervisor Christian.
Thank you. So I saw the cost that you have there, and I'm all for that. We're going to cancel the other agreements though with Optimum and no. So
No, so what this would be is it would be a secondary connection. So we would have two connections at each location,
see.
and with the two connections at each location, as Tom was saying, if they were to provide maintenance or one of them a fiber was cut, something like that, and one of the connections went down at one of the locations, it would automatically fell over to that secondary connection, so we didn't lose the connection.
okay, now I understand. So yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think we have to have that sort of redundancy. We're totally dependent on an internet connection.
And just like your various communities up north, we want to have multiple access for, say, fire evacuation.
Yeah.
Same line of thinking.
My question is, okay, the 21,480 is a base cost. So depending on how much we use it, the cost can go up, or that's just the cost, no matter how many facilities we have using that?
So no, that is the cost.
That is the cost.
That is the cost.
Okay. All right, good enough then. I have no further questions.
Okay,
And so thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay. We will go on to 4B, information discussion regarding monthly flood recovery update. Mary Billings and Tom Goodman. Tom Goodman's not here.
Good
So,
morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. These agenda items are in here as a sort of placeholder to allow our Public Works team the opportunity to update you on where we are with all the flood recovery projects. So I will invite Matt Renter and Troy White to share their updates. Or Matt, I guess. Sorry.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Morning.
supervisors. As you know, before I get into the report of where we are with our projects, I just want to send a shout out to our streets crews. I mean, they've been working pretty much nonstop for the last month, keeping roadways clear, keeping drainage paths clean, keeping culverts free of sediment so that the drainage paths and the culverts will do what they're supposed to do. And they've done a tremendous job in spite of the weather that we've had with that. So as far as an update for the projects, we apologize. We had a printout, but with the storms affecting the internet, we weren't able to print those out, but we will send those to you so you can have a deeper dive into the projects and some of the project photos that we have, the construction photos that we have with those. And we'll send those out today as we get our internet connection restored. As far as the Russell Gulch project, that project is at 93% completion. They're supposed to be finishing that up this week. That's the one with the shotcrete with the sediment. I drove the site this morning. It was on site this morning, and they had quite a bit of sediment that came down through Russell Gulch. They were cleaning that out. Their work crews were cleaning out the culverts, removing some of the sediment to make sure that the channel doesn't silt up already. That's scheduled. The Russell Gulch project is scheduled to be completed this week. The Six-Shooter Canyon project is approximately 79% complete. That's scheduled for completion the end of August. We did have a little bit of a setback today with the rain because there was quite a bit of rain that came down through the Six-Shooter Canyon, but the Tiffany crews are on site with that as far as removing the sediment and making up the time that we were set back with the weather this weekend. The Ice House Canyon is approximately 80% complete. That's scheduled for completion the following week. The August 14th is when we're looking at completion for that one. The
Copper Hills Road is at 65% completion right now, scheduled for completion on August 21st. And then the hospital wall is at 35% complete. That's scheduled for completion the second week of September. And again, we'll send the schedule out to you so you have a better look at it. But all of these projects are tending to be completed under budget. So we're pleased with that. And with the work and the team effort that we've had with Tiffany, with our team, with Jay Fuller, it's been a combined effort and team effort to keep these projects moving forward in spite of the weather that we've had. So we're grateful for all parties involved with that. Happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Matt, it sounds like we're gonna beat that 220 days, huh?
We will.
And it sounds like your folks are doing a really good job. Everybody is, so that's good to hear. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. So Matt, the email I got this morning about Russell Gulch Road, and that's being, a lot of sediment just needed to be removed.
Yes.
No real damage though to any of the projects that were.
No, just the sediment removal. So we're working on that to get that sediment removed to get back to where we can do the construction for it.
Is the landfill open at this point, or?
At this point, no. We're still, because we had so much rain that came in last night, early this morning. The landfill is still closed until we can get that cleaned up and dried out.
Great. And I may be wrong, Mr. Chairman, but it sounded like we covered two topics today, 4B and 4D in this presentation.
That's correct.
Combined them together. So thank you for that, Matt.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I'm just sharing, and if they want to come up and do them all on B, I guess I could stop. But anyway, okay. The only question I have, and it's not a question, it's a comment, is the wash between the landfill turnoff and our Russell Gulch project. That creek is full of sediment, and the culverts look like they're pretty. Or when I was by the other day, we're pretty clogged. So that wash is looked like it needed some attention to our Russell Gulch project.
Understood. And like I said, our crews have been out working on that. That may be one of the areas that they've already taken care of. I'll double check with our roads division and find out about that one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then if you're finished, Maren, you're finished with B, so we'll move on to C, and I think you're on again. We're on 4C, information discussion on a fee structure analysis presentation.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. I believe our internet outage today has caused our presenters to not be able to join us.
Okay.
Unless, do you have them on? Oh, there they are. Okay, never mind, they're here. So I'd like to introduce Cara Skinner and Diana Hancock from MGT Consultants. They have been diligently working on our fee structure analysis, and they have worked directly with each department here in Gila County to understand the costs and revenues that are related to them. And I will let Cara and Diana go ahead and move forward. And then when they're ready to present their PowerPoint, I can move through the slides for us, and we need to move to the next agenda item on the screen. Cara and Diana, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, go ahead.
Jonathan, can you turn it up a little bit so we can hear them? Sorry, we're working on it,
Yeah.
Cara.
Turn it up a lot.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you if it's real quiet, but our AC blowers are on apparently, and it's muffling the sound a little bit in here. But go ahead.
Should I try again?
No, that's a lot better.
Okay.
Can you hear, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, Cara, it seems like we have good enough sound for now.
Okay, great. And when I chatted exchanged emails with Jonathan from IT earlier. He said I could possibly share my screen if that's easier for you, or would you prefer to run the presentation?
No, if you can, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Cara.
Okay, let's try. Can you all see that screen?
We can.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mary. Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors, County Staff, Cara Skinner, Director with MGT, and my colleague Diana is here. Diana, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. Manager with NGT with Cara and Marion.
Thanks. So, appreciate your time this morning. We do have a brief presentation to show the results of our study with you. So I will go ahead and start with that study results. So, as Maren indicated, we worked closely with all of the different departments at the city, or many of the departments, to do a cost of service study. And really, why did you all embark on this project and contract with MGT to do this work? Really was the first time, and I think quite some time, that a comprehensive review was done of the different services for which the county charges fees. So what we were brought in to do was to really look at what is the true cost to the county to provide those services for which you charge fees, identify what is your current cost recovery, and what that means is we compared what is that full cost compared to the current revenue that you're collecting. And then we also oftentimes compare fees to your peers, because that's useful information. People want to understand how your fees compare to neighboring or similar counties across Arizona. So we did that work. And really the goal is for you all to have a higher level of transparency, and for those in your community to have a higher level of transparency with regard to what it costs to provide different services. So we also want to make clear what this study is not, and what the presentation or the discussion today is not. And it is not necessarily a request or a call to raise every fee. Can you all hear me fine?
Yes, thank you, Cara.
Okay, great. Just thought I'd do a check-in. It's also not a mandate for full cost recovery for every service for which you charge a fee. That is certainly a policy decision, and we'll talk about the different factors that might influence that policy decision. And it is also not a request to act today. So today it's informational, it's discussion, it's really at a later date and time that you might consider what would your cost recovery policy be, and then apply that policy and make recommended changes to the different user fees. But today it's really information for future informed decision making. So what was the scope of our study? We studied 11 departments, and you'll see them all listed here. And each of those departments provides a mix of fee-for-service activity and also activity for which there are no fees charged. It is taxpayer supported. It's a community service. But so each of these departments has at least one, if not 4, if not 50 fees for which it does charge for certain specific activities. So when we looked at each of those activities, how did we calculate the cost? And the thing that's important to know and understand is when we do this, we look at what is the actual full cost of service. So we do that by first working with departments, doing some data collection, gathering the fee schedules, the budgets. We want to understand the salaries and benefits associated with the folks in the departments that are providing these services. We want to also understand operating expenses, and we also want to understand the costs of administrative support both within the department and county-wide. So we do use information from your annual cost allocation plan, which allocates the costs of central service departments like HR, finance, IT, to the direct service providing departments. So we do all that data collection, and from that we determine hourly rates that are fully burdened fully burdened, including all of those types of costs, all costs associated with labor. Come up with a fully burdened hourly rate. And then each of your departments identifies what is the time that it takes to provide the service. Who is providing the service? If it's a mix of a variety of staff members, then we understand how much time does each of those staff members dedicate to that service. And then that gets multiplied by the fully burdened hourly rate to come up with the full cost. And then once we have the full cost, we multiply that by the volume of times the service was charged in a year to understand the total revenue, and then the total fully burdened cost on an annual basis, and we come up with cost recovery percentage. So it's really an exercise in digging in to the full costs, understanding the volume and understanding the revenue to estimate cost recovery. So as I mentioned earlier, while we do identify what is the full cost, it's not necessarily the policy that most communities would want to recommend to always recover full cost. Cost recovery is really impacted by a number of different factors, and the factor that is considered most predominantly by decision makers is really this assessment of who's benefiting from the service. And if it's a service that has a lot of community benefit, then there's typically little cost recovery, if any. If it's a service that or an activity that has mostly individual benefit, then oftentimes policymakers want to set cost recovery closer to full cost. Examples of full cost recovery often are things related to land development, building permits, that sort of thing. There's also the other thing that people consider for cost recovery and setting fees is competition with the market, and we spoke to that a little bit when we said we always include a peer comparison. There are some services that are largely influenced by the market, and that is taken into consideration more significantly, and those are often facilities, facility rentals, things that the private market might have a similar service that would compete with what the community or the county is providing. So big picture, high level results from our study across all of those 11 departments. We identified that the full cost of those services or activities was $6.3 million, and the current cost recovery is $4.8 million. So there's a subsidy of about $1.5 million from the general fund or other taxpayer dollars to close that gap. So if you made some adjustments based upon cost recovery philosophy, there is potential that there could be additional costs recovered through fees. So more specific department funding findings, these are also very high level. These are the 6 departments that recover less than 65% of their full cost of service. I will note community development there at the top. That was one that is only recovering 46% through our study. And again, that is one that in our work that we do across the country that oftentimes the goal is to recover closer to 100%. But that again is a decision of the policymakers. But you can see here across these departments what the current full costs that we identified, current cost recovery. The third column over is that recovery as a percent. And then that last column is potential cost recovery opportunity if fees were increased. There are 3 departments that through the work looked like they were potentially over recovering costs. And again, this is based upon an assumption about volume. So it may be that they were over recovering it in that year, and in other years they were not. But generally, it's a goal to not over recover costs. You'll see two of those, the recorder. Those look like it is over recovering costs, however, those fees are set by state statute, so that's comparing, the fees as charged per state statutes, and then the cost based on the time of your staff fulfilling the requirements of the activity. So there were a few that were identified as being over recovering costs. We did want to highlight facilities and fairgrounds. This was sort of a unique situation, so we built two different models for facilities and fairgrounds because the current practice is to use inmate labor. Through our work, the annual savings that we identified from using that inmate labor was around $250,000. So with inmate labor, the full annual cost was $600,000. The services that or facilities that you're charging for are only recovering 17% of your costs, even with those cost savings from utilizing the inmate labor. So there is some potentially there for fees to be adjusted. And then we did want to give you just a little more context around the peer comparison that we did do. We benchmarked against Graham County, Apache County, and Navajo counties, and these were sort of the rationales for those three counties and what we thought it added value to the analysis. And that is, we did provide that peer results to Maren and her team and the county manager. But we do also say we always want to share those peer comparisons with some caveats or just sort of really understand what the numbers mean. When you look at peer fee structures across jurisdictions, the peer fee structures often vary significantly. So it's not always apples to apples in terms of how fees are charged. And the services for which a fee covers, like it may be like in the building world, a plan review fee might include a certain level of review and one inspection, or it might not include any inspections. Like what the service includes can vary across jurisdictions. So we always want to recognize that. And then the other thing is we can compare their fees, but we are not necessarily comparing their costs because many of the fees potentially across the different jurisdictions have not been modified or they have not done a cost of service study lately either. So while we can compare fees, we don't necessarily have an understanding of what are the underlying costs associated with that county's providing those services. So we use them as sort of a directional check on competitiveness, but it's just simply another piece of information for the county and policymakers. So last, the recommendations that we had coming out of this study, the study foremost was to provide useful data and information to you all. But we did also make a few recommendations, and one is we would recommend that you consider and adopt a convenience fee policy, and that is related to transaction fees for the county. So credit card, ACH, or in person, to have some rationale for how the different departments that accept different payment types charge fees and potentially implement a credit card transaction fee and consistently apply it based upon policy. Number 2 would be to have the policy discussion and set target cost recovery levels based upon the philosophy. And then once you made adjustments to that, those target cost recovery levels, then we would recommend revisiting costs every 3 to 5 years. The reason why we recommend that is, particularly in recent times, processes maybe have changed, technology changes, processes and costs may have changed significantly depending upon those processes. So it's good to do the full cost analysis every 3 to 5 years. And then in those in-between years, we recommend applying a CPI adjustment, because certainly based upon our cost methodology, the costs really are based upon labor costs primarily, because you are a service providing agency. And certainly labor costs increase over time. So we know that that underlying significant cost is increasing year to year. Typically by a CPI, or some organizations might use the percent, the wages were adjusted through the annual budget process, something like that. And that's the end of the presentation, and we're here, both Diana and I are here to answer any questions you may have, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Klein, questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor, I think I probably have questions, but I'm not sure right now. This is a lot to think about.
Yes, and that's why it's a work session, so you have time to consider it and you can better understand it now that you have it. I know in the past when we've presented this, it's been a big fat book that is completely not useful to you, and it doesn't have any context. So I'm hoping that the teamwork involved across the 11 departments that Cara and Diana mentioned, and with Michael and Josh and myself, will give you as our Board of Supervisors and our constituents a more transparent way to see this, and also a more digestible set of information, so that you're not trying to have to figure out what matters in this. And then if you have questions about the data, we can always provide you with the data. But having this in a reasonable presentation format seemed like an improvement that we could implement over past approaches that have caused more confusion than they've relieved.
Well, thank you, ladies. You did a good job putting this together. I need to absorb this for a while, because there's a balance in there with our constituents too, with what they're paying in tax dollars and what we're charging them to use what they built. So basically, so it is going to require some thought. So thank you, Mary.
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on what Supervisor Klein just said, would you like us to plan another one of these work session discussions after you and the board have had a chance to look at this?
Yeah, I can get to that
Okay,
in a minute. No, thank you. No, don't ever be. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. So I've had actually quite a few discussions with our community development department with regard to their fees that are reflected here at 46% recovery, and how Randy would like to increase that. In other words, when we look at this page here about cost recovery philosophy, the building permits, septic permits, rezoning applications, and subdivision review should be meeting a much closer to 100% mark, because those people are taking out permits that don't need to be subsidized by those that are not taking out permits. And that's one of our upside down things that we got going on right now. So the cost of building a home through permits or septics or whatever should be paid by the user, the one taking out the permit, and not subsidized by those who are not building a home or not putting in those features. That's my philosophy, and so I think that's the philosophy here as well. And I'm curious as to why we didn't include the landfills in this study. Is that just a separate thing? The landfills and their fees?
The landfill and their fees was evaluated separately, and the board had recently, back in December of 2024, implemented a new fee structure there. And it's my understanding that the landfill and public works will be bringing their information to you separately.
Okay.
They've been so focused on other projects that they did not have the bandwidth to accommodate this study.
Okay, good. Yeah, I look forward to that, because we need to keep up on those fees as well.
Yes.
So thank you, ladies, for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much for your information. but I agree with Maren that a lot of that information is for staff to digest and then bring us information so that we can make decisions to go forward. So I appreciate you, and I do believe that it is about time, because we're kind of restructuring, that we did do a user fee study so that we can better understand how to go forward. So thank you very much for your time, energy, and effort, and for staff for requesting us that we do this. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Maybe. Okay, and on D, information discussion regarding the status of flood recovery projects, associated funding, resources, and 220-day completion timeline requires for NRCS emergency watershed protection. Matt, you've covered lots of that back earlier. And then associated funding resources, that's the only thing I didn't catch in what you came up with on the earlier portion of this. And so do we have anything as far, before I just pass it up, do we have anything on associated funding resources for our 220-day projects?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Public Works Department has submitted its first request to NRCS for reimbursement for the first big chunk of work, and that has been well received. The consultant for the DEMA projects has submitted the September projects to date to DEMA, and we are anticipating a peer review of that application. And we will let you know when those reimbursements start coming in.
Okay, with that added information, Supervisor Klein, do you have any comments or questions?
How much have we dipped into that 18 million that we bonded for to help out on these?
We have not submitted for any reimbursement from the 18 million yet.
Okay, good.
We wanted to see what our final costs are before we submit to the bank and ask them to send us that interest-bearing money.
Yeah, good. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no, that was a question that I had, and so now I'm good with that. So thank you very much for answering the funding part of this. And Matt, thank you for yours earlier. Okay, we're going to move on. Does anybody need a break? I think we're getting into this part of the work session where it's going to be a little bit lengthy. Supervisor Klein Christensen, you want to roll forward? You want to take 5? And also too, I do believe that today we are going to go, I was speaking with Manager Michael O'Driscoll, and I believe that F and G is going to kind of run together. And so I'm going to move F and G prior to E. And so if anybody would like to take a short break, Supervisor Klein, you okay?
Yeah, we're only an hour into this. I'm good to go.
Supervisor,
I'm fine.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then we are going to roll forward, and Manager O'Driscoll, would you like to start off with apparently F and G kind of running together?
Chairman, members of the board, thank you. And yes, the reason what I've done is this board has requested staff to present to the board a financial analysis of 2 different properties. One of them is the fairgrounds, which the county owns, and one of them is the Veterans Retreat in Young, which the county doesn't own at this time. And while I was doing this presentation, we're going to be looking at the same financial information for each of the properties. and therefore I sort of combined them into one PowerPoint presentation for this board. So without any other questions, I'll just go ahead and get started. Would you be able to handle that? Yeah, great. So the purpose of this review is what the board wanted was what was spent. What was spent out at each of these properties, who paid it, and the question of who paid it was what fund did these expenses come from. For example, you'll see during this presentation we had received a large amount of money from ARPA, which is COVID money from the federal government that each government agency across the country received during COVID, and those funds were restricted only the first $500,000. Anything that we received after $500,000, the county was able to expend on any project that this board approved, and those funds needed to be expended by December 31st of 2025, which was last year. And I'm happy to report that the staff has expended all those funds. We didn't want to leave any money on the table to give back to the federal government, and so I'd like to thank staff for making that happen. And this board for the direction. If you recall, during the COVID years, we were bringing constant projects in front of you for your thoughts. What did it buy? The question is actually what the money was spent on, and exactly what did that provide the county. So we presented the annual cost by year, and I'll go into the years that we used it. We 5 years, starting with 2021. 2021 was a good year to start because there were absolutely no expenses out of Pleasant Valley and none that was being tracked at the fairgrounds. So that's a baseline year. Starting at 0 is the perfect year to start at, and then we could see how it builds from year to year. We separated one-time capital project investments from ongoing operational obligations. And what that simply means is capital is construction, is some other items. Operational expenses are full-time employees, utilities, those kinds of things. So we separated that out for a better explanation where that money went. And then also part of the request was to summarize the, we call them P cards, but they're actually credit cards, they're purchase cards. So there was a significant difference between these two properties for the P cards, simply because they come from, credit card purchases are charged to multiple funds at the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat, and out at the fairgrounds, all credit card purchases were charged to the general fund since we own that property. So there were not multiple accounts for that. So you'll see as I go through this that we did not include the purchase cards for the fairgrounds because there were too many to get a coalition of staff together to get a total for that amount. And we are working on that as well. So we should be sending that information to the board in the next, say, 3 to 4 weeks. So you'll see a difference between these two properties for credit card purchases. And then this slide, what we did is we just put the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat next to the fairgrounds and listed the funds in more general fund. The American Rescue Plan Act, which is ARPA, I just explained that to you. We also include non-capital, capital, general, maintenance, operation funds. I just wanted this board to know that the non-capital, capital, and general funds and the maintenance operations all roll up into the general fund. So we consider them general fund. We just break it down based on the accounting principles and rules and guidelines from the Auditor General and policy. We take those general funds and we break them down into those subcategories, non-capital, capital. So for the purpose of this particular conversation, all of those funds are still considered general funds. So questions, sir?
Yeah, I had a quick question.
As we go forward, if you have questions, will you address me first, please?
Pardon me?
Yeah, as we go forward, if you have questions, will you ask for time to speak as we go forward?
Oh, I think we always have, but thank you.
Okay.
Michael,
Yes.
on the Veterans Retreat, and I guess I don't understand, the money that came from the state was actually, and Maren may have to verify this too, was rolled into our general fund until recently.
Chairman, members of the board, I get into that in later part of the presentation, but I'd be happy to answer that now if you would like.
Well, I'm just saying here, right here on the capital part of this is 245,000. Was any of the state money or LATCF money part of that?
So the LATCF money and the state $3 million are separate, along with ARPA. So we have ARPA, general fund, LATCF money. They're separate. The $3 million was specifically given to Gila County to spend at the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat for construction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we received that money was put into general fund, which makes it difficult for staff to go back and determine what costs are allowed to go to that. So in other words, construction costs were the only thing that was allowed to be charged at $3 million. Right now, it's wrapped up into the general fund. So there's operation costs, there's also utilities, those kinds of things are being charged to the general fund. But we have no way of providing an audit to the state about that $3 million. So what we're going to be doing is this is going to be on Marin and her staff. We're going to be taking that $3 million and breaking it off into an individual line item. We couldn't do that this year because the Auditor General had already provided an audit for our budget. So we can't go back and make changes. So what we are going to be doing is making that change to this year's budget, pulling that $3 million out, and then journal entry those items that are considered construction since we received the $3 million and charge it against that $3 million. So at any given time, if this board wants to know how much of that $3 million we have left, we'll be able to do it in a matter of seconds just by looking into our new world system. So that was the confusion there. Instead of when we received it, creating a line item separately right at front, it was rolled up into the general fund, but we are going to correct that. So we'll have a better accounting for that $3 million. Does that make sense?
Oh, I didn't understand why it was put in the general fund to begin with, like it was. I didn't understand that, but so you will be able to go back and pull those costs out and put the rest of that money or whatever's left in its own fund or separate account?
Yes, sir. And as far as there really is not a lot of charges, and I'll go into that in I think slide 20, 21, 22, something like that. There's really not a lot of charges. What we have to do is we have to work with the county attorney to get a definition of what construction means, right? So, for example, I'll go over some of the costs. Is chip seal a construction cost? We don't know. In my perspective, construction costs are going to be engineering, architecture, and hiring licensed contractors through the procurement process to build something or put something on a building. As far as chip sealing and some other costs, I can't give you an exact answer until we get with the county attorney and sort of agree on a definition of what construction is. Because it's very broad in the IGA that this board signed with the state of Arizona in 2023, I think December 2023, that it basically said constructing of Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. And then the definition of what is construction, we still need to hash out with the county attorney.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I mean, usually chip sealing means maintenance on paved roads. Difference is this wasn't a paved road.
Yeah.
It's dirt. So to me, it was like constructing a oil-based road. But I mean, Joe, I guess, would be the one to tell you. But anyway, thank you for all that.
You betcha, sir. Any other questions till I move on? Thank you. So we're going to start with the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat first. This is just a quick overview of what has been spent in the 5 years, 2021 to 2026. 2.5, up, stay there, Jonathan, back. 2.59 million of projects, operations, 807,000, and the guests served, which are the veterans, 425. That's what we have reservations for. This does not count some of the guests that the not-for-profit may have had events out there. So I do want to make that specific as far as annual meetings by the utility company, those kinds of things. This is just the veterans who were signed up to spend overnight visits there. And then
So-
I'm gonna go into more specifics. here. Yes, sir.
So one thing, Mr. Chair, I want to point out on this deal, and thank you for this, putting it all together. But the way I figured it here on operations, that operations covers a 5-year span. So that comes out at $161,400 per year. If you did an average, which that's what I did.
Yep, Chairman, members of the
If-
board, that's true.
if-
And we'll go through, oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
My apologies, Chairman.
Yeah, and it's per year. It's not total divided because years change as we go forward.
That's not what it says on top, Mr. Chair. 21 through 26.
Chairman and members of the board, if I may explain a little bit, this is the total cost over the years. But as you will see, since I broke it down by year, the operations per year cost is increasing. So,
I
yeah.
understand that,
Yeah.
Michael. I'm just addressing this first page because I got more to address as we go down there. But no, this is over a 5-year term or span, and that comes out at 161,400. That's what it says. Am I right?
If you do that math, yes, sir, it is. Is that the true cost per year moving forward? I would disagree. So, yeah.
I accept that
Yeah.
because I know that's going to change a little bit.
Yeah.
I've already went through this and tabbed a lot of things I have questions or comments on, but I just wanted that to be made clear. We're not talking $807,000 a year for this site.
Correct. We're talking the total 807,000 over 5 years.
Yep.
And then it'll get a better sense when I go year by year, the increasing costs of this per
Mhm.
year and what the board can expect if we continue operating this, what it would cost. So,
Mhm.
yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Michael.
You betcha. Next slide. The, and this is just a quick breakdown per year of the financial summary. This gives you an idea of what we're gonna go into more detail of per year, what we spent from what fund exactly that it comes out of. Do you have any questions about this slide before moving on?
Mr. Chair, I got some.
Yes, sir.
Just so you can clarify, Michael. Under operating maintenance FTEs, starts in 2003, and it starts at $29,524.88. And by this year, 2026, it is up to $305,213. What costs? What am I missing here? Because FTEs have not changed in this site.
No, sir. Chairman, members of the board. No, this includes operations and maintenance and FTE. So there are 3 completely separate different categories that are rolled up into operating costs. So you have the FTEs, you have their salaries, you have their EREs, which are employee-related
Right.
expenses. We sort of calculate that by taking the salary and 40% of that salary added on top. That's for insurance, pension, those kinds of things. The operating costs of utilities are the contract for cleaning, are
Right.
the weeds, are the maintenance of the buildings, those kinds of things. So it all adds up into one. So we can split that out. We certainly can. We have 2 full-time people there right now. So if this board would like just a separate accounting of the 2 FTEs plus their EREs, we could do that by sometime during this meeting. We could do it in a couple minutes if you would like.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, that'd be fine. But what I'm looking for is a true operating cost. And so, like maintenance in there, was there some one-time costs in there on a particular year that wouldn't roll over to the next year? Was the maintenance on buildings considered maintenance or new construction? Those are the things that I would like to see, because that has a big impact on the overall operations of that site.
Chairman, members of the board, yeah, this is our definition of what we would define as operating costs for any building, is the FTEs plus the cost for maintenance, repairing plumbing, those kinds of things. And we could always pull that out. It would take some time, but we always include those 3 things into when you're talking, because that is the true cost of maintaining a property. Is you have employees that are
Oh,
doing that.
100%.
Yeah.
You're 100%
Yeah.
right. I'm totally on board with you there.
Yeah.
I just want to see all the other costs. And another question, my last question on this particular page, is these costs all rolled into that $801,000 5-year annual operating costs, or are they all a part of that?
Yes, they're all a part of that.
Okay,
correct.
so over 5 years on an average, it was still back to the 161,000, whatever.
Yes, if you do that math. From this particular side, what I'm trying to depict to this board is the operating costs are increasing.
Well,
from
they
year to
may,
year,
and
yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
They may increase. I mean, we started with the fairgrounds at operating costs that was really, really low,
Mhm.
or we're really high now. I mean, the more we do, the more we improve, whatever. I get that. I'm just wanting to get a solid figure on where we are today.
Yep, absolutely.
And
sir.
to verify what we're looking at is true maintenance costs. What are they? Yeah, you're right. You know, painting a building, weed eating the grounds, fixing leaks. I get that. So anyway.
Yes, sir, and you're absolutely right about the fairgrounds too, which we started 2021. There is 0 as well. So
Mhm.
you'll see an increase with the fairgrounds as well. So
Mhm.
you're absolutely right, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Christensen, go ahead.
Michael, so the 305,000 and it's increasing, but you have 3 costs in there: operating, maintenance, and salaries. So if the salaries for the most part have stayed the same, then the increase is going to be from operating and maintenance. How, and I don't think you have anywhere where that's actually broken out, but let's say, is this reoccurring maintenance, or is this one-time maintenance that adds to this figure? In other words, like, okay, we painted an entire building, we're not going to do that every year, right? And so there's not enough breakdown for me to see whether or not this is reoccurring, consistent annual maintenance cost, or whether it's higher maintenance this year than the year before.
But I think I broke it down a little bit further in,
Did you?
in the slides in 2026 and 2025 as far as what
I'll
that
wait for that
entails.
then.
But if you require more specifics after I get to that part, I'll
Okay.
have our facility director, Joseph, come here and explain exactly what each category is.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you betcha, sir.
Okay. Continue.
And again, this is just a recap of some of the categories of where the money was spent. Just to give you a basic overview of it before I go into specifics per year and exactly what some of the money was spent on. If you notice, the largest project was the remodel. If you recall, that was the remodel project we hired a state contractor for, which ended up to be a really good project for this, and that was paid for by the ARPA funding. Most of this was paid for the ARPA funding, with some cost coming from the capital improvement, which is the general fund. So, question about that?
No, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
this showing it as the ARPA money would have been prior to 23, correct?
The ARPA money, I believe, was spent in 24,
Okay.
but I have that on another slide.
How much was spent, or can you tell me this, out of the state money for some of this?
I will be able to tell you, but the state money is we can go in a later slide to discuss that, sir. As far as the $3 million, I have the exact number here, but it's sort of out of. We can go into it right now if you would like, sir. So we have $3 million. If you take into account the IGA was signed by this board in December 2023, I believe. So basically, let's just use 2024 as the baseline for the $3 million. And I've already talked about we still have to get with the county attorney to get a definition of construction. In 2024, there was 0 money spent.
Right.
That could have been considered construction.
Right.
In 2025, there's zero money spent that we could consider construction. Okay,
Oh, hang on that one. Oh, well, until you get a deal back from, the CA's office.
correct,
Because the chip seal was done in 25.
correct.
And the solar panel install is going on now, but that was started in 24, I think.
Right, 2026 is where we actually have the money for the solar panel installation being charged to the county.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, so we consider that part of the 2026.
And the gate and gabion baskets was done in 25, completed.
26.
Yes,
Was it
and that's
26?
done in 26 as well, so it's been charged to the 26.
Okay,
So, and 2025, no project would have been considered construction and charged at 3 million except for the chip seal. And we don't know if that can be charged, so until we get a definition from the county attorney on construction, we're just gonna count it as zero right now. And then in 2026, we had several of them. We had, that's been charged that we can put towards the 3 million. We have about 51,000 for the design of the multi-use building and ADA cabin. That's been charged to the county already, even though we know, you'll see at a later slide, the total cost for that is about 250,000.
right.
But we've only been charged 51,000. That, I'm guessing, could be charged to 3 million. We have the gate and gabion baskets at about 8,200.
Right.
I'm guessing that could be charged because that had to be
Right.
designed and part of construction. There was a 7,000 solar panel installation that's been billed to the county already. The total for that contract is about 40,000. But
Correct.
7,000 of that has been billed to the county, and I think that could be billed to the 3 million as well. So if you add it all up, and I threw in there the chip seal, and I added it all up, if you include the chip seal for 2026, we have about $122,000 that may be charged to the $3 million. 67,000 of that, I'm guessing, can be charged if you take out the chip seal. I hope that explains it.
We're getting closer. You're doing
Okay.
good. I'm gonna
Okay.
keep asking you questions, but Marin's used to it. My next question is, though, the one above it is the survey for that property. That survey had to be complete in order to have a bill for the conveyance.
Yes, sir.
So,
So, Chairman and members of the board, just a quick history of the survey. There's several things on the conveyance language that the county has to pay for
mhm,
if the federal government conveys that property to Gila County. One of them is a survey, and another one is an environmental survey,
Right.
which includes archaeological. We don't have a price quote. We're working on a price quote to get that done, because it's a big project as well, since it's over 200 acres out there. However, the survey was done simply because we're working on a licensing agreement for a not-for-profit in Gila County. And we realized during the process that the legal description of the original special use permit with Gila County and the U.S. Forest Service needed updated.
it did.
And so we decided, Mr. Menlove decided at that time to hire out to get a survey done, which worked very well. That survey was charged to the general fund as well.
That's good to know, Michael. I just see that it's like it's all right here in the same line for the same price. Legal services, is that the attorney's fee that we had to go outside and hire for the licensing agreement?
Chairman, members of the board, yes. The county attorney let the county administration know that we're more than welcome to go outside and hire legal advice and to look at some of these projects and things like that. So that's exactly what we have done.
Okay, and then the web development was for the website,
Yes, sir.
that site? And so all this is coming out of general funds?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I have a question, Supervisor Christian, I've got a question. Good. No, I'm good. Oh, you're good, okay. Well, that's why, because we get into things that are gonna be covered in the future. But while we're here, doing the survey, doing the licensing, are we licensed to operate a PBVR at this point in time?
Chairman and members of the board, at this time, we do not have a licensing agreement in place. That's an
A
item.
question asked and answered. Have
Yes.
we ever been licensed?
No, sir.
Okay, asked and answered. Okay, let's get back to the presentation.
The next slide, please. We're going to start at 2021. This is going to be an easy year because this is our baseline year, which has zero costs. We really didn't start working on the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat till 2022. So, and that's what we do. We go right into 2022, where you see it's just a little bit of cost, about 38,000, and I have it broken down. This is when, at some point in time, the Board of Supervisors approved, noted by direction to the county manager for 2 FTEs for this particular property. So this is a good slide to see that we're preparing to get more into the operations of the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat, but it's only about 38,000 in this particular year. And the next slide is just breaking that down a little bit better for you. The 38,000, most of that was paid for by the ARPA fund. The setup, we had ice chest. We were leasing golf carts for activities out there, and then also the niche app, which is a process you have to go through with these properties, the U.S. Forest Service, and then we had additional 2,000 in credit card purchases, and that breaks it down there. So, and at this particular time, we had no operating costs as far as FTEs, maintenance, utility bills, those kind of things. Then we go into 2023, where you can start to see that we're spending a lot of ARPA money there for the remodel. Again, the ARPA money is the COVID money. Then we go into some capital fund expenses. FTEs, we had a part-time employee out at the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat who was part of the maintenance team out there. So you start to see that we're kicking into some of the maintenance and operations of the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat, which is normal if you're going to be out there. And then I just broke down the P-card, the credit card transactions. Most of them were paid for by ARPA and capital. And we're going to go into more specifics in the next slide about that. So if you see at the very bottom, I included about 57, well, in this particular slide, we're at the 2023 credit card. There you go. The 57,000 was for the ARPA costs, were kitchen cabinets, kitchen counters, furniture, TV setups. So the remodel for the 1.7 million covered the buildings, remodeling it, and the outsides. This is sort of getting the insides of these buildings ready to have veterans stay there. Questions about this?
Supervisor Klein, questions?
No, I'm good.
Supervisor Christensen, questions?
Well, I guess it just kind of came to me, did any of these purchases come before the board for approval, or is this just part of the ability for the manager to just approve the spending? Or?
I believe it was a combination of contracts under 50,000 and just the direction by the county administration.
Okay, thank you.
Then the next slide, the projects and funding source. It goes over again in a little bit more detail some of the what the money was spent on. If you look at the ARPA funded projects, the first line at 290,000, it included EarthQuest plumbing, blinds, and the cloud system for the network, for the computer system out there. Yeah, EarthQuest plumbing was brought in simply because the system was old, and during the remodel process, it was determined that the on-site wastewater system needed have a lot of leaks fixed and a lot of lines replaced. So that's where the majority of costs came from here, and that was paid for by ARPA. And then we get into the operating costs, Supervisor Klein, a little bit more specific, which includes all of those. And of course, we can always break those out if we wanted to get more specifics. The exact cost for utilities, legal, janitorial, it's all how we sort of categorize operational costs and facilities. These all are what it takes to operate the building. So that's why it's in that particular fund.
So, Mr. Chair, I have one question on this one. It's just clarification, Michael. On legal on this, because we talked about the legal part of it a while back. And the legal part of it that I remember, there was a under 50 contract done for about $49,000 for an outside attorney to help with putting the licensing together. But that was a one-time cost, wasn't it?
Chairman, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Christensen, so a little bit more to that, but that was a one-time cost, and it's about $49,000
Uh-huh.
for the licensing. And we're to the point of presenting that licensing agreement to the board August 4th during that session. And the outside law firm that we hired, Ballard Spar, the attorney Michael Ostermeyer is going to be here to present that to the board. So that was a one-time cost. The challenge here is if there's any additional cost to Mr. Ostermeyer, if there's a glitch or there's, say, the not-for-profit attorney wants to make some changes to the licensing agreement before signing it, right? Those are added costs to Mike, to the Ballard Spar. So that 49,000, he's going to charge us more money. So that 49,000 kicks it above 50,000. So there's going to be delay because I'll have to get that 50,000 and over in front of the board for
Right.
discussion. So that's where we're at with that
Right,
outside
but-
legal fee. Yeah.
But that's only if. I mean, there's
Correct.
ifs involved here.
Correct.
So to me, the 49,000 was a one-time cost right now as it stands. And so that shouldn't roll into any more operating costs in general until the time comes if we need to have more legal action. And let me point out something real quick. The reason that we had to go to the outside attorney is because our CA's office wouldn't see anything on this vet center. That's why we spent the $49,000, because we needed to work towards the licensing agreement.
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to make that clear.
I'm hoping nothing happens with a licensing agreement to go over 50,000. And then we go to the next page with the credit card summary for 2024. And this just breaks it down even a little bit further as far as the costs and the categories. So you'll see almost 12,000 of that was covered by ARPA, and about 2.3 thousand of that was covered by the general fund. And this breaks down exactly what categories we place them into. So we really break them down into exactly what the credit card purchases were for. And if there are no questions, I'll go into 2025. Again, we're going to see the same format. We're going to go through overall projects and break it down a little further in the slides that follow. I did put, if you'll see in 2025, you see the guests served. I did put that on top of the right, just to show you how many veterans have used this facility per year. That's also what this board wanted from staff to provide. And again, as a reminder, these are just the reservations that we know of, and any other events out there that were held that didn't have overnight guests were not captured in this. So.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may, I have another question on this one. I mean, once again, it shows up as chip seal assistance. I don't understand what chip seal assistance is in 25.
So, is there, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
may,
go ahead.
Supervisor Klein, there are several line items that go into chip seal. We had $25,000 and change for one line item for paste and concrete, another $2,400 for paste and concrete, and then staff time of $17,000. And then we also had a line item to Western Emulsions, which is more of the material.
Western Emulsions would have been the fog seal. That was the last thing that was done on the chip seal. Staff time of 17,000. What is that? I don't
So
understand
when staff from the roads crew provide work to a non-roads project, their time has to be
right. Reimbursed.
journaled over. Yeah, so that's what that is.
Okay. Okay, and then there again, Michael, is we're still showing legal in this 25 projects and funding as well. It seems like it keeps carrying through here, so I would assume you've, attached some kind of a dollar figure to it, didn't you?
We did, but it just depends on when it hits the budget.
Okay, but
That's when we pull the financial information for these presentation. It depends. It's 49.9 for the total contract, but it depends on when that part of that 49 hits the 2025 budget or the 2026. So the overall legal bill for Gila County for the licensing agreement is 49.9.
And that wasn't paid at the time the contract was,
Correct. They
awarded?
would bill us for the services, sir, and
Okay.
then as you know, since the survey had to be done in the legal description, it sort of extended that project into the next budget year.
So do you know how, well, I guess it's immaterial, but see, this is what's been confusing to me going through this is things like this. The 49,000, the way you're explaining it to me is kind of laid out through multiple years, the 5 years.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
You may.
the purchase order was issued May 5th of 2025 in the amount of $49,557.91. $18,566.50 was expended in fiscal 25.
Okay.
The purchase order remaining amount of $30,991.41 rolled over into fiscal 26, and that amount was fully expended. So
Okay.
you'll see 18,566 in fiscal 25 and another 30,991.41 in fiscal 26.
Okay.
There is a second agreement with Ballard Spar for legal services for Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat procurement that was issued on December 9th of 2025, which is fiscal 26. And that purchase order amount was in the amount of $41,272. Of that amount, $4,151 has been expended.
Okay. So basically from, excuse me, Mayor, May of 25 on forward till today is when our legal services has taken place.
There may have been other legal services not related to Ballard Spar. For example, setting up the nonprofit and things like that were expensed to the county.
I don't think that was the case. A nonprofit, they paid for itself or whatever.
Okay.
But going back here in 24, we still show legal as part of 24.
Let me pull my notes up.
And Chairman, members of
I'm
the
sorry to
board,
ask these questions, guys,
oh, no,
but,
no, we
but this is
appreciate
very
this.
confusing and misleading when you look at actual costs.
And Chairman, members of the board, the second contract for legal, if you remember, the first one is for the licensing agreement. The second one was for all of the construction projects out of Pleasant Valley.
Computer here.
The county attorney sent us notification that that they were okay with us getting outside counsel to help us with the procurement. So that's the second 41,000. So total between 49 and 41 average is basically for the two contracts for legal that we're talking about Pleasant Valley. There was a possible third one, but the county attorney was able to review and approve to form the special use permit update, which included the new legal description from the Forest Service. So there was talk about a third contract with Ballard Spar to do that, but that did not come to fruition. The county attorney agreed to take on that project.
And so thank you for reminding me of that because I forgot. Not only the CA's office wasn't approving anything that had to do with PVVR for a time frame, but I was thinking for some reason that the licensing agreement was the first thing we had to address, but maybe it was the second. I don't know.
Chairman and members of the board, Supervisor Klein, it was the licensing agreement was the first one.
Okay.
And the second contract with Ballard Spar for the procurement process came about the last 12 months here. So that's sort of the logistics.
So that's just what I'm looking for is clarification on some of this because it is important that we get these facts and figures down as close as we can get to them since it seems to be a factor for the operating costs.
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Okay, we may need to get back with you on the information on 24 that you asked for.
Mhm.
Erin is looking at her notes.
Yeah.
So, Michael, if you'd like to go ahead with the presentation, if that's okay.
I'll circle back.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir. The 2025 project and funding sources. Are there any questions regarding this right now? Chairman, members of the board?
Chairman, something
Go ahead.
that was said, just in very brief, real quick in passing, I need to have you clarify, Michael. When it came to establishing the 501c3, there seemed to be something you said about how we paid for that and something that Supervisor Klein said, no, we didn't. They paid for that. Did I misunderstand what I was hearing there?
Chairman, members of the board, that was the conversation that Mary had with Supervisor Klein, and Marin is going to be looking that up right now. She's searching if there were any general funds attributed to creation of the nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
thank you. All right.
something that I think this board should have that information. So
That's,
she's gonna
that's all
search
right.
it, yeah.
Wanted to know. Thanks.
And then I'll move on to the next one with the credit card summary for 2025. And this basically tells you there weren't too many credit card purchases, but what they were for. It looks like the inside of the houses, IT setup, network, and some household items. And those were charged to the general fund in this particular year.
And being that they were on a credit card, they never came before the board.
Correct, sir, yes.
Okay.
The 2026 annual, here we go with this one. And this is up until this point of the year. So this isn't the complete year, obviously. We're at the end of July. The gift serves 74 right now. The capital project's about 150,000, and the operating costs, which include all the other, you see we've gotten a vehicle for the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat out there for the employees. We didn't want the employee traveling to and from Globe or Payson without an appropriate vehicle for safety issues and things like that. So these are all of the costs, the operation costs, which include the FTEs, utilities, some of the software for Gila County facilities to operate the reservation system out there and those kinds of things. And then the capital projects is we threw all the capital projects as 148,000 to chip seal, the survey to Gabion baskets to razor thin. Razor thin media was hired to do some work. I'm guessing, I don't really recall what it was hired for, but I'm guessing the website development for Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. Possibly the helping with the reservation system. I'd have to double check with Razor Thin Media with Cameron on this, what particular services, unless Supervisor Klein recalls.
I think the reservation services, that program was paid for by the nonprofit and still waiting to be implemented once the licensing agreement is in place.
Yeah, so this might be some other work they've done for Gila County. Yeah, I could double check on that. I think Mary could double check on that.
I can double check on this.
Giving Marin all the work. So questions about this before I move on?
Yeah, I think all of these costs were out of general fund.
All of these costs were all out of general fund. That is correct, sir.
Thank you.
2026 projects and funding source. This goes in a little bit more detail as far as where the money for this particular year was spent. And I just want to point out, just as an example, I mentioned before, when you go down to the third line with construction, the 51,000 for the design, that is the total contract that this board approved is about 250,000. But this is just how much that the Gila County has paid to BWS Architecture for their services. So it's sort of, I just want this board to understand that. And I will have a slide after this to show the total costs and how much we've paid right now. So I hope that isn't confusing.
Mr. Chair, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I look at that BWS Architect and Engineering, they are the cheaper engineering company we've ever hired. Most of them are in excess of $200,000. So I'm pretty proud of that one.
And also I would like this board to know that the 88 cabin, as far as that goes, the 88 cabin, we received an earmark for $333,000 for that cabin to be built. and then the county kicks in 25% of that as a match. So that was approved a couple years ago through BOS Public Affairs. They help us get that earmark. And so when the costs come for the construction of that ADA cabin, it's going to be coming out of the earmark in a 25% match from general fund.
And if I may add, Mr. Chair, that earmark came from Senator Kelly. So that one,
What?
Senator Kelly.
Okay.
And the last slide for Pleasant Valley is where I show the encumbrances, which goes to how much money it's gonna cost us, but, and we're expecting it to cost us. And so that's the last line. If you'll see the architect and engineering, 250,000 total. We spent 51,000, so we have about 200,000 left on that contract to spend. So this just gives you a sense of how much money the current projects we have in place are going to cost as a total and how much we've already paid for those services. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this slide.
That's not including construction projects
That includes
that are upcoming.
Chairman, members of the board, that includes some of the upcoming ones, but the ones that are not on this list are the ones that haven't been through procurement in front of the board just yet. So if you recall, Chairman, the second legal contract with Ballard Spahr added an extra level of review by an attorney. So those contracts go through procurement, go through Ballard Spahr, back to procurement in front of the board. So it just added an extra level. So that's sort of lagging, but this is not all of the projects that are planned out there for construction. We have a generator project out there. We have electrical upgrade to two of the historical buildings out there. Those things are still in the works. And those particular projects will be charged to the 3 million. And in my best guess, because those really rise to the level of the definition of construction, design, engineering, and literally going in there and doing the construction.
Okay, and at this point, until we're able to do some auditing, we're not sure what construction projects that have been performed in the past will be charged to the 3 million.
Chairman, members of the board, so I believe the best way I can explain it is once we give it the county attorney on a definition of construction, we'll go back. But I do have the totals of the possible ones. So we already know
That's
what.
okay. I don't, blue sky's blue sky.
Yeah. So I guess if you're asking for a total, Chairman, my best guess is the past projects that we've already paid for out of general fund that could be charged to that $3 million would be about $67,000.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Supervisor Christensen?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, and I thank you for it is complicated. It's a complex bunch of numbers. This slide we're on right now, this janitorial services, is this an annual fee that we're paying, $216,000?
Chairman, members of the board, that is correct. This includes obviously cleaning of the main administration building and going into the barracks where the veterans stay and doing cleanup services, bedding services, those kinds of things as well.
Okay. Is that a professional service company?
Chairman, yes, it is.
Okay.
We contract that out with a company that won the bid out in the valley, and that's sort of important that we have a company on that can do this, simply because when an employee gets sick or employee goes on vacation, it's the responsibility of the company to cover. And we've had that several times where that contract works very well.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if I might ask a question on that, Michael, what was that final? I just wrapped up my papers. I don't remember the final cost on janitorial services.
216,000.
You know, I think we look at a lot of different things, and maybe in the future that's one to look at, because for that kind of money, we could give one or two more people a job in Young. Some folks, you know, where a job is really needed.
Yes,
Just
sir.
throwing that out and save us a lot of money.
Well, okay, hold on.
If I may,
You may.
Mr. Chair, Of that amount for that service, about $140,000 of it is a turn down service and is not expected to be part of the maintenance and operations. It's going to be when there are expected guests.
What do you mean by turn down service, Marin? I don't understand that.
When the bid was put out, turn down service was requested as a component of the bid. So we're not paying it unless we use it.
So not to exceed,
Yes.
more or less.
Yes, sir.
So if there's no guests, there's no cleaning. If there's a guest of 40, you come and clean
Yes, sir.
up after 40.
And I'll let Joseph, thank you, Joseph.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Yeah, so the first end of the contract was based off of a trend over the 3 years, and that's for the turnover services for anyone that comes in, and then we have to get it cleaned up, of course, and set for the next guest to come in. And then there's a percentage of that that's set aside for potential increase. When we do a 1-year contract, we're anticipating that the utilization is going to increase because that's what the trend was doing. So there is a portion of that set aside for that trend versus having to come back and do a contract again and again and again on an unknown service. For the most part, we did understand because of that trend that there was going to be a potential for that. But with it being a potential, it's also a cost saver if it wasn't to be utilized and it'd be returned back to the accounts.
So, thank you. So that's not a hard cost to us right now, basically.
It's an encumbered cost for the coming year. Anything that was presented before, that would be the hard cost and what we've been trending off of, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Also in the cost of the janitorial, and this is just to cover, when like this company comes in, then liability, they have their own liability and insurance and things of that nature in case they create an issue for the PVVR or the county or somebody that's staying there.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors, that's correct. Just like all of our contracts, this is standardized the same way.
Yeah, which might be difficult for employees without the same insurance coverage and things, which makes it a bad deal, but it still makes it an opportunity that we may or may not be able to use because of the liability of someone in our facility or our leased facility. Okay. Further questions, Supervisor Klein?
No, I don't have any. I just want to thank these guys for putting this together. And there are some things that I think we could maybe clarify, maybe for future discussions. But I think it's just for that type of a project and for the cost that we're looking at. I mean, we spend that kind of money readily about every week easily. So I want to thank you guys for putting this together. I'm sure I may come up with another question or two, and
I'm sure you will, because now we're going to get into the fairgrounds.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah. Supervisor Kirsten, any further questions before we go forward?
I'd like to ask, Michael, when do you expect to get the architectural and engineering complete plan?
Well, I believe they've had the final drawings, and I'll let Joseph answer that question since he's more intimately involved in that.
Thank you, Michael. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, we're running around about 85%. Our next goal is the 90%. We're looking to close that out close to the end of the year, but we're ahead of schedule on the design.
Okay, close to the end of the year?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Before we're looking at numbers, before we make a decision on whether we're building or not?
So this is just the design and engineering, so that'll be completed. We have a milestone for December. We're anticipating before that. We're ahead of schedule. Once that design is complete, that design will be then presented before the Board of Supervisors to determine the next path.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, then I guess if there's no further questions on the PVVR, then we can go on to the fairgrounds.
Chairman, with one moment with
Go
Marin,
ahead,
if she
please.
could explain.
Okay, go ahead.
She looked up to
She's
answer the
been
question about costs associated with the not-for-profit.
Investigate. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein, for your patience. The nonprofit, before it existed, did fundraising to cover the costs of its origination and passed those funds through Gila County by depositing them with the treasurer. Gila County in turn paid for the Owens Law Firm on August 30th of 2022, $3,600, the cost of setting up the nonprofit. So the expense came through, as did the raised funds, and those ran through the capital fund. So you'll see them as a legal cost. We are not reflecting those funds raised in this presentation. This was just about expenses.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we will get you an answer on the reservation system, but that will be probably tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
It is what it is. Before you go forward, I'd like to introduce Jesse Latham, the council person has joined us today. So Jesse, thank you for being here. Okay, Michael, now go for it.
I'd also like to recognize that we do have 3 board members here.
We do have three board members from the PVVR.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Would you like to introduce them?
Well, we have Mr. Jim Muir on the left
Yes.
here, and we also have Dave Rogers, and we also have Art Sheriff.
Yes.
You got Joe Heather.
And Joe.
And Joe.
That's right, that's right. And so I appreciate them being here.
Yeah.
They're not allotted any time really for a presentation, but they're here concerned because coming up, they're going to be asked to take on some of the responsibilities that we've been talking about. And you have this document here that actually lined out the PBVR incorporated responsibilities, of which one of them is going to be cleaning, that we just discussed quite profoundly.
Well, I don't know if we've discussed anything to what they're gonna be taking on yet.
Okay, yeah, well,
It's just a document that is assuming that's going to be part of their duties. And so I just wanted to point that out. I know we're jumping the gun a little bit on that, but I didn't want them to take the entire trip down here to not be mentioned.
They have a part of our work session.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Chairman, members of
Thank
the
you.
board, thank you, and I'll move right into, I did have a couple slides about the credit card purchases, and I could skip those since we went into detail about that, unless this board wants to go into more detail about the credit card purchases. We broke them down even farther about the exact costs and what exactly they purchased. But if you, and it explains it back in slide 22, which is the one slide before we start the fairgrounds. And this just gives you a general sense of the breakdown of the credit card purchases from 2021 to 2026.
I don't. I'm paged out. That's okay. Maybe.
You betcha.
Yes, I do. Okay, thank you. Okay.
And then if there are no further questions about Pleasant Valley, I'll jump right into the fairgrounds fiscal audit. So again, we used the 2021 to 2026, and the overall projects were about 2.37 million. The operations are 628,000. Revenues are about 109,000. We've had over 5 years, 432 events. And this is different than Pleasant Valley as far as the revenues go. So you'll see me mention where I didn't mention credit card purchases for the fairgrounds because it all goes to the general fund anyway, since it's a county-owned property. This is also slightly different than Pleasant Valley, where the events out there does generate some revenues to sort of offset some of the costs.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a question on this one too, Michael.
Yes, sir.
On the top line, it says year by year, but what year is that? Where did you start on this?
This is overall 5 year. This is just a summary
It's
of
the
all the
same?
5 years total.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll just go break it down by year by year after this. So I just wanted to give you an overall picture of the total cost, and then we'll break down that 2.37 into year by year, where that came from, the operations year by year, and the revenues and the events year by year. And so the next slide just does a little bit of breaking down what funds paid for some of the projects. Again, out at the fairgrounds like Pleasant Valley, we have ARPA funds that were used, the COVID money, as well as the general funds, which we broke down into capital and operating and maintenance. So you'll notice that 2021, 2022, and 23, if you go to the operation and maintenance, that's because we had no known tracking system out at the fairgrounds through our facility department. So when Joseph Dickinson came in around 2022, that was one of his jobs, was to create a tracking system, financial tracking system for all the facility buildings. None of the buildings had that at that time. And he has created a tracking system for all of our county buildings to track every expense, which was a huge project. But him and his team completed that about a year ago. Questions about this? Perfect. And so we just gave you the next slide is a revenue and event trend. It just shows you the number of events per year. And as you can see, 2024 was the highest year for events. And then it just goes year by year, the revenues. So it just gives you a better sense of this previous slide, the previous two slides where the revenues of 109,000 come into play. So, and then the next slide is, again, just like Pleasant Valley, we used a baseline in 2021 because there was absolutely no known costs that we could track. So it starts with 0. So I can give you the trend per year. Is it going to trend up or down with costs? We start with the baseline to make it easy for everybody. And then the next slide is the 2022 projects and funding source. This is where you see some of the direction by the board. Around that time, if you recall, Joseph was in front of the board getting ideas or their thoughts about some of the projects out at the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds property had been neglected for quite a few years, so there was a lot of work to be done. And starting around 2022 is when the board directed staff to start making some of those changes. So most of these costs were charged to the ARPA fund. And if you recall, in 2022, that's when the portable arena and the fencing around the grandstands were purchased and installed. So that was the major cost basically for 2022. The next slide, the 2023 projects and funding source. You can see that we're now starting to, just like Pleasant Valley, spend a little bit more of our resources out there to improve the grounds. And ARPA money still comes into play with the majority of that, $723,000. And then we have some of the other expenses as well, which brought in, and the revenues we brought in for 25 events was about $20,000. So that just gives you a general sense that we're starting to, again, move more into the improvement phase out at the fairgrounds property. 2024, you can see we really kicked in some of the capital projects, spending at about $330,000, and we're still throwing in some ARPA money at about $210,000, and the events were $148,000. This was our busiest year with events, and we brought in about $24,000. Again, I made mention of this because Pleasant Valley, we were able to track the credit cards because of the multiple funds it needed to go to. With the fairgrounds, all the credit card purchases went to maintenance, and it flows up into the general fund budget. To break down the 2024 projects and funding source a little bit more, this is just breaks it down exactly what fund paid for what and what was done with that. If you look down at general fund project, for example, a hiking trail, we went forward with designing a possible hiking trail around the entire property. That didn't come to fruition, but we also had some electrical projects that came up that we wanted to improve the electrical system out there just to bring it to a baseline. So you start seeing getting into designing, hiring designers and engineers to look at the electrical system, because the electrical system, like the other buildings out there, were dilapidated in some way and old, and we needed to bring that up to a standard to make it safe for everybody there. And then the next slide, we go back into 2025, and we break down this. I threw everything basically onto this one slide for 2025 to hopefully give you a better sense of the money, the increased amount of capital we're spending out there to make improvements. And if you recall, we spent some money out there for a bathroom, and some other, the electrical design, the roll-up doors, if you remember, those turned out to be extremely important to get those replaced. And I thank this board for allowing the staff to move forward with that. If you recall, the rolling doors out there, every time you went out there, they would shake and create a lot of noise. For anybody who had an event out at that building, you could barely hear yourself if the wind shook those doors. And if you go out there now, that's a significant improvement. So, and then we did some dirt work around some of the arenas and those kinds of things. So, are there any questions about this year?
Mr. Chair, I have one. You mentioned bathrooms, but very vaguely, Michael. The bathrooms I remember we put in there were those ones we hauled in there for a tune of about $600,000. Am I very far off my memory?
Chairman and members of the board, no, you're not far off with your memory, sir. And
I'll
have Joseph sort of explain.
Yeah, and I don't see it where it's listed in here. And maybe I missed it somewhere, but
I think it was part of that one. It's part of the ARPA one. Maren, what year? Oh, there it is, sir. 3 slides prior in 2023, the projects and funding source is the.
It's spread out over 2022, 24, and 25.
We have it spread out over 3 years, but the total cost for that was $700,000. So we captured that as far as the ARPA project in 2023.
ARPA funds.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Melissa.
so
2023, Supervisor Klein.
yeah, I'm looking at the projects and funding source, but am I missing it somewhere?
On 2023, it says ARPA projects, major project activities, sir.
Oh, 723.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was a mistake on mine not to be a little bit more specific as far as that was. But that was
Okay.
the restrooms out there, which included, at the time that we received that contract, it did not include septic upgrades and some of the electrical work. So we had to do additional work onto that. So the original contract was closer to 600,000. Adding those 2 components to it kicked it above 700,000.
Good.
Any more questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, Supervisor Christensen? Okay.
Thank you. And the 2026 project and funding source, again, just a breakdown as far as what we've spent out there. If you recall, this year we moved into Amber Martinez from facilities was able to bring in the high school rodeo championship to Gila County. And some of these costs with these contracts were to get that area in the condition to be safe for the animals and the riders as far as that goes. And that was quite a success. And then we also have oh, I'm sorry, Chairman.
No, I have a question on, yeah, and it's just high school rodeo. It's not finals. It's just the rodeo. They have them in 12 different places. So we don't have the finals yet, but we do have the rodeos. But didn't Freeport help us on the bleachers and maybe the stage, because we were going to do a concert for them at the fair in 2025, I think. They were gonna help us with a concert or something. Maren, did you have some information?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. The bleachers and grandstand were recently received. It took 12 months for the vendor to manufacture them. We did get $227,000 from Freeport McMoran for that project, and we have very recently paid for that. So I don't think you're going to see that yet in Mr. O'Driscoll's report. We've been gathering this data since I believe April, we've been working on this PowerPoint.
Okay,
for
yeah,
you.
that's fine, but that wasn't a total cost to us for capital
We
because
split
they
that.
did help us with half that.
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Thank you.
thank you.
And then the next slide, Chairman, members of the board, is just a little bit of a recap of the funding sources, where they came from, and some of the improvements to the facility. So this is a little bit more specific breakdown. If you see, like, some of the electrical costs, we specifically hired GH2 to come in to do the electrical engineering, so we can improve the electrical system out there. We did actually improve the electrical system out there and brought it up to a nice baseline. We still don't have enough power out there for generators and lights for the fairs. That's part of our future plan of a capital project to bring, I think, phase 1 electrical out there, but that's quite an expensive
Because,
project.
yeah, renting the power source for the lights and the generators for the fair is extremely costly to the fair board or us or.
The chairman, members of the board, yes, it's close, it's over $50,000 each year to hire, to
Right.
get those generators and lights out there to make sure the fair goes on.
Right.
And that's the end of this presentation for Pleasant Valley and the fairgrounds on the financial audit that this board requested staff put together. Are there any other questions or clarifications you would like me to send you after this meeting?
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
I'm sure I'll have another question or two in the future and get with you on, Michael, but I just want to make a statement, I guess, all in all. In 2017, when I stepped into office, we didn't have the vet center, we didn't have basically the fairground. Fairgrounds had sat in limbo for I don't know how many years. We were putting a lot of money into the fairgrounds just to keep it on the rolls. I think to the tune of over $200,000 a year, if I remember correctly. But I'm really glad to see the county have two major projects that can reflect upon this county and what we value and what we stand up for. The fairgrounds brings a lot of opportunities to Globe and Miami and the surrounding areas, and opens up a lot for our 4-H kids, things like that. It's really good, and the more we can put into it, the happier I am. I'm with it. I really appreciate the Vet Center for the fact that we represent our veteran community in Gila County. A project that there isn't really much of one anywhere else. And it reflects upon the county as having support for our vets and having something to offer for them. So I'm really happy to see these projects in Gila County and be county projects. And that's just my comment. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Christian, anything before we go forward with?
I'll just say that these two projects we're talking about, Pleasant Valley and Fairgrounds, I support. I think they're good for the county. They're good for what we're doing, and so I'm happy that a lot of the spending came from Markham. We couldn't have done it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate projects, both the projects. I don't compare them because they're completely different. We own the fairgrounds. We don't own the vet center. The vet center at this point, 425 people in 5 years. Fairgrounds this year, the fair 2025 fair, there was 9,362 tickets sold for one event, and that's for 1 year. I think they each have their place, but I think two in the same. We're here for the constituents as well. I'm elected to serve the constituents. I appreciate the veterans very, very much for all that they do, all that they've done. But you know, at this point, We're not licensed. We need to get licensed. And from the get-go, we've been told that we're going to end up with it. We still have not made a whole lot of progress on that. We're still leasing that. And and then it's been back and forth. Back in 2022, it's that there was going to be a 501c3 with a board that was going to operate it. And so we're still trying to organize a board to operate it. And so, I have a great respect for it. We put an awful lot of money into it. We put an awful lot of money per year into it. I don't know if it's because it's a dirt road or what. We just don't see the activity there that I think all of us would like to see. But like I say, we need to go forward with looking at getting a 501c3 that will work better with us to not have to operate on general funds. And so that's my 2 cents worth going forward. So thank you very much for your presentation, Michael. I appreciate the information on the Veterans Center because I've asked for many work sessions in the past that never came. A lot of the information you shared I was not aware of until recently. So I appreciate the information to be able to make decisions going forward. We're only as good as the information that we receive. And so I thank you for the presentation. And so if there's nothing further, then we will go to Kathy.
Thank you, Chairman. Might I add a lot of thanks to Maren, Olivia, Facilities, Joseph, Melissa, Amber. Everybody's working the last several months on crunching the numbers and everything else like that. So I would like to publicly thank them as well. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, staff, very much. Okay, now that that's behind us, we're going to go to E. Kathy, your presentation is up.
Chairman, if I may, I've received a public participation form from Mr. Leatham. He had to leave.
From what?
From Mr. Leatham. And he had to leave, but he provided an email. I don't know if you would like to read that
Yeah, that's fine.
for this item.
Oh, okay. This is to address a specific item listed on the agenda, except a call to the public. So I probably will wait till call to the public. Or should we do it on the item?
He specifically requested for item 4E. So that's whatever you decide.
Okay, well, if it's on item 4E, we're starting on 4E. I'll go ahead and read it because apparently Kathy is getting things lined up. Okay, we have a number on agenda item 4E in favor of the issue. Jesse Leatham, Councilman, 508 North 3rd Street, Globe, Arizona. See attached email. I'd like to offer, okay, please find this is my remark on item 4E. Chairman and Supervisors, I'd like to offer a different perspective. As a Globe City Councilman, our council made the decision to take on the maintenance and operation of our community center and swimming pool. We know that wasn't a one-time expense, it was a long-term commitment, Every year, we revisit our budget, make different decisions, and ensure those facilities remain available because we believe they're important to our community. I see the Pleasant Valley Veterinary Team in much the same way. Gila County is home for nearly 4,700 veterans. This board represents every one of them from Globe, Payson, Miami, Star Valley, Hayden Winkleman, and all of our unincorporated communities. The retreat isn't just an investment in a building, it's an investment in the men and women who have served our country throughout this entire country, throughout this entire county. Just as this board has committed to maintain the fairgrounds and many other county facilities over the years. This retreat represents a long-term commitment. These kinds of investments require ongoing stewardship, thoughtful budget, and responsible management. This simply what good government does. I want to thank this board for having the vision to make this commitment. Gila County has shown that it stands with its veterans in a way that few counties our size do. And that's something we should all be proud of. I'm proud to call Gila County home. I am grateful to see our local governments continue investing in facilities and programs that improve the lives of the people we serve. Okay, that was called to the public. Kathy, are you ready now?
Good morning, Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. The reason we're here today is back in May, Supervisor Humphrey requested that this nonprofit board come forward. You'd heard a lot about them and you wanted to meet them. And so that's why we're on the agenda. It just so happens all this other stuff happens to be on here too, those other items. I wanted to start off with, first I would like to introduce the guys that drove all the way down here from Payson today just for this item. We have Jim Muir, he's a board member. We have Dave Rogers, not to be confused with the Dave Rogers in IT. And then I have Art Shear as well. And then Joe Heatherly. Joe is our infamous treasurer. We all know he knows his money. Anyway, they came down here today. I'll make like a quick presentation about why we got set up, what we've done so far, because we have done some things so far that probably the board maybe aren't all aware of. The original intent for setting up this nonprofit was not to be an operational nonprofit for the county. It was set up similar to the nonprofit that's associated with Discover Gila County. And it was to be a board of folks who could provide input to Gila County regarding veterans, what veterans programs might be needed, that type of thing. So that's why we were set up, and to promote, to raise money, because people aren't too inclined to, don't really feel too good about giving a donation to a county or any sort of government, so they would give a donation to us. So that's why we're originally set up, to accept donations and to promote the facility. Part of the reason I think for the low numbers that you see on there is that we have been in limbo different times during this process. When we were told to hurry up and get things done, then we're told you've got to stop because we have to look at this. We had put on hold from ASIP, we were put on hold from legal authority. We got legal authority from the state, from the $3 million that we received. So we do have legal authority to operate a veterans retreat through the state. And if you want to look at it even further, we have authority from the federal government through our special use permit saying they're giving us that acreage to provide veteran services. So we do have.
Do you have that with you? I mean.
Do I have what with me? The special use permit?
No, the special use permit, but that they will give us the property.
The federal government?
Yes.
Okay, at the end of this, we have some presentations from Representative Crane regarding the bills that are forward right now.
Okay.
Because they have to be given to us through the federal bills, which are still in Congress.
Okay.
So we'll start off with the first slide. You're going to do them for me? Okay, the paperwork was filed in 2022, and the board received their nonprofit status in April of 2023. We have a CPA that files all of the board's paperwork with the IRS and Corporation Commission, and we are currently in good standing with all state and federal requirements. Just received our 2025 tax return. Our current board members are Frank Grice, who couldn't be here today as of yesterday late afternoon. He was planning to be here, but he got called out. He has a 60-hour-a-week job. He got called out to Tucson at 8 this morning. Dave Campbell is our first vice president. Art Shear, who's present, second vice president. Joe Heatherly is our treasurer. I'm the secretary, and that's totally by default. I don't want that position. I'd love to give it up. Walter J. Hart, he's a member at large. Walter is actually between North Carolina and Arizona. Walter does dog training, and he is has a company called, or a chapter of a dog training program called Canine Companions Limited. And he's in the process right now of moving to Arizona, to Phoenix. He's kind of between both states. Also have Jim Muir, member at large, and Dave Rogers, member at large. Fundraising efforts. Wait a minute, did I skip? Oh, I did. Okay, we decided after we'd been around for a while with each other that we really didn't have a direction. So we decided to have a board retreat, and it was facilitated by Southwest Decision Resources. It's a couple of ladies that go around and do a lot of facilitations for the Forest Service and some other groups. They came in and we met here in the boardroom, and we went through a process of about a day-long process with them. And we came up with how we could all work together cohesively. We thought that was kind of important to do. And that's where we came up with the motto, or our mission was no veteran has to pay. And so that's our mission, is to raise funds so that when folks come out, they can either choose to give us a donation and pay, or they can choose to stay free of charge. We might be looking at that over again. Fundraising. The board partnered with Majestic Rim Retirement Community that's located in Payson. We did 3 galas, 23, 24, and 25, and collectively they netted us a little over $140,000 in total. Our sponsors for those events included APS, Resolution Copper, Freeport, Capstone, Payson, Elks Lodge, and Gila County. And as most of you know, the mines typically will only donate within their zip code. But because they liked this project, they believed in the project, they went outside their zip code and did donate to us. So that says quite a bit about the support for this facility. Here's some of the investments that we've made in the facility out there, out of funds that we have raised. So we've made physical improvements to the property. You want to go ahead and go on, Jonathan? So here's the one thing that we established that was probably the most, where we spent the most money, and this is a game room. So this is located in the administrative building, and it's kind of, if you've been out there before, Supervisor Humphrey, I don't think you've been there for a few years, but at the long hallway off to the right, there was a great big room, and in that room, that is a game room. And as you can see, that's what we put into the game room. Pool table, foosball, seating. We realized after we got going, we need to buy some bistro tables. So we had those all set up, and then there's a private area that you can go into that are the 2 little bubbles off to the right, where folks can go in there and do online gaming. There's games for that. The business center is a room also towards the end of the building where when guests are out there, if they need to come in and check their email, if they need to print something out, they can go in there and they can do that. And we purchased all of that equipment. We purchased the desk, we purchased the computers, we purchased the software in order to put that business center together. Then we decided to go outdoors with some money that we raised in our second year. We built this gazebo, is out between the 2, we're now calling them lodges. We decided to stop calling them barracks. We call these lodges now. So this is built in between the 2, and all of the work for that, the pouring of the concrete slab, the foundation, the erection of the gazebo was done by volunteers and with nonprofit money. But it's now the county's. Other things that we did was that we purchased outdoor furniture because we thought we had these beautiful porches and outdoor areas, but there was no place to sit. So we bought all this outdoor furniture. I'm sorry I didn't put the cushions on to make that a little prettier, but that was all purchased also by nonprofit money. We also have another gazebo in waiting. Some of the stuff last but not least purchases are, we did our first year. I felt bad we didn't have any Christmas decorations, so I polled the board and they all said, yes, please, we need to have Christmas decorations out there for for the veterans when they stay during that time. Here's some recent events, and I was so busy with the picnic that I didn't get a chance to take pictures, but that top picture there is the setup underneath of the tent that we did. Over 170 people attended, and those were not people just from Young. When we did our door prizes and everything, door prizes went to people outside of Young. They were not people from in Young. So that's told us about how many people. There were people there that I had never met before. I don't know about you. Were there people there you hadn't met before?
Oh, there's strangers there.
Yeah. And then that bottom picture, we held also Christmas coffee, and that was not a fundraiser or anything like that. That was just for the community. It was the same day as they have their a community's council there has their Christmas bazaar and a Christmas event. So we partnered with them, and then as people went down there, they would tell them, hey, they're having free coffee and cookies down at the other end of town. So a lot of people came there. You can see Supervisor Klein, that's one of our board members there, is Supervisor Klein talking to Dave Campbell. He's one of our board members. So we had quite a few people there that day. Like I said, between 40 to 50 people. That's kind of a guess. Some talk was mentioned earlier about purchasing software to do the reservation system. A year ago, we purchased a program called Logify, and it's modified for us. It's kind of one that I guess they use quite a bit with Airbnbs. That purchase price was almost $3,500, and what Logify will do is what the county has originally told us they wanted us to do, is they want us to track. So somebody can go online and make a reservation just like you would at a hotel. They can make a reservation, we collect their information like their DD-214. We can also get the liability waivers signed online, and they can go through there and they can, like the cost for a house for one night would be $130. So they can go through there, $130. Then there will be a coupon code they can enter, they can state that'll zero it out, or they can be given an option to make a donation at that time. So a year ago, we thought that we were going to have the licensing agreement in place and we were going to do all of this. It didn't happen. We purchased this and we're still waiting. I don't know if we have $3,480 to do it again this year or if this is a continuing. I don't remember. We haven't been able to go online, but we're ready to go online. Our website and reservation support is Razor Thin Media, which is Cameron and Chaz Davis. We pay them $2,000 a month to do this. In the beginning, the county helped out with that, but we now pay $2,000 a month for our website maintenance, Facebook maintenance, and any other technical support that we need. They do a lot of things for us. Our website is PleasantValleyVeteransRetreat.com, and we have our Facebook page, Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat.
Give it just a second.
Sure.
Razor Thin Media, that's paid for out of the 501c3?
Correct. We pay $2,000 a month for that.
Okay.
Yeah, for that support. One of the other things that there's been reference made to the licensing agreement with the nonprofit, kind of like I don't know if it's that we're kind of dragging our feet. We just got that licensing agreement last week. Along with that, in a separate email was a whole list of things that we're going to be required to do under that licensing agreement we didn't know about. We have never been set up to be an operating on the ground, boots on the ground nonprofit on that site. That's never why we never knew that. So now that we're supposed to do 90% of the operations, yes, we're going to run that through our attorney because we're not going to enter into that without doing that. And I don't think that probably you would either. But anyway, towards the end, do you have any questions about this? Because I do have a couple of things a couple of attachments. As you know, we've had some pretty high federal star power supporting this project. Senator Kelly, Congressman Eli Crane, and then we have a group that comes out that kind of discovered Relief Project, and they're a group out of Colorado. They're a nonprofit. They come every year. They do their booking, make their reservation a whole year in advance. I think their first year was 2023 that they came to stay with us. They've been there with us every year since, and they're already booked for September of this year. So I have some little clips that's the end of it. Then I think you want to ask the gentleman things, or if they wanted to address you, if that's okay, if I can do my clips, or do you have some more questions?
Yeah, I'm just going back to June 28th, 2022, U.S. Forest Service has leased the site to Gila County and will later transfer ownership of the 232.9 acre campus to Gila County. This site was the former Tonto Forest Pleasant Valley Administration site. The current plan includes the creation of a 501c3 organization to manage the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. Plans also include maintenance and rehabilitation of the building and site, including 3 historic buildings.
And whose agenda item is that?
That was in June 28th, 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So the plan back then was to get a 501c3. So.
We have a 501c3.
Okay.
Okay. Want to start with first? Yes. No, yes, the one from the motorcycle group.
I'll be honest with you, I came out here excited to ride motorcycles. You know, that's why I came out here, right? It wasn't until I got out here and I started doing some of these sessions that I realized how important that the mental health aspect of it was. The Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat is really wonderful. The ability to be communal, but also have your privacy is really, really lovely. It's nice being able to be together, but then have that little bit of time for introspection at the end of the day.
It's a place where veterans gather, come together, spend some quality time together. There's no distractions whatsoever. If we can just focus on what we have to do in that moment, and that's what it's all about. Getting out with your brothers, enjoying the time and the camaraderie, and creating those bonds with each other without all the distractions of daily life. It's been just a fantastic facility. I can't say enough positive things about it.
The retreat is so much more than I ever expected. We have private rooms at this facility. Everything is incredibly comfortable, well maintained, and it's such a neat location. We're convenient to everything, but not close enough for distractions. We're listening to the elk in the morning and the evening, the wildlife, the trails, the camaraderie between all of us, including the staff, is just over the top.
The staff takes good care of all the grounds. Lacey has been the person that we work with mostly over the past few years, and she's absolutely receptive and a joy to work with. A personal story I have is that I went to pick up some mail this morning, and the message I got was that I could pick up my mail at 8:30, and when I showed up, the post office doesn't open until 9:30, but the postmaster was there, and she helped me anyway. You wouldn't see that in a big city or with other attitudes.
We'd like to think that our limits are often far beyond what they actually are, but at the end of the day, some of us are surprised to find out that we're only human. And being here is reinforcing that that's all right.
Everything's been so approachable. It's wonderful to talk to other groups who've gone through the things that I've gone through. They have a different sort of understanding than your typical medical professionals. Where it's clinical, and these folks, they know what it feels like to be in a foxhole. They know what it feels like to deploy. They know what it feels like to be shot, blown up. When you factor in the Pleasant Valley Retreat being so accommodating and wonderful to have a place to call home every night, when you add in your beauty that we get to see in this natural environment. And then you add in the mental health aspect with the sessions from MRP. It's actually been really, really incredible. I haven't worried about anything more than that.
What an amazing, amazing place. I never knew it existed. I don't think most people know it exists. But look at what it's doing for these veterans. You get these guys back here that are having stumbling blocks in life, and it's getting ironed out, and it's such a beautiful thing to do. And it is a beautiful place. My hat is off to the organization.
And the local people are just the salt of the earth. Everywhere we've been, from the gas stations, stores, or every time we stop, people wave at us. They're very friendly, very welcoming, very supportive. I want to say thank you back to the people of Pleasant Valley and to the sprawling metropolis of young Arizona. Thank you very much.
Senator Kelly's just picture. Senator Kelly wasn't able to make a video for us in time, so he just put together this little presentation. You know, veterans deserve a place to connect with others who share their experiences to access the care and support they've earned. The Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat offers that refuge to veterans in Gila County, across Arizona, and nationwide. As a Navy combat veteran, I believe our duty to those who serve continues after they leave the uniform, and I'm proud to support this mission. And this kind of touches a little bit on when we started working on this in 2017. One of the goals also was because the Forest Service moved out in 2016 and they took 60 plus jobs with them. And so this is kind of a way of bringing back economic development to Gila County. And that's what Senator Kelly, Senator Gallego, and Representative Crane have seen, is that, so that's what they believe too, is that it's not only for veterans, but it's bringing back some economic development to that part of the county. So it's not just a way to look at just one thing at veterans, but to look at a little bit bigger picture. Okay,
Hello, I'm Congressman Eli Crane, and it's an honor to represent you in the House of Representatives. Thank you for being here as we build momentum on this special project. The Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat provides Arizona's strong veteran community with a place to rest, recreate, and enjoy the beautiful land our nation's heroes fought to defend. This matters not just to Gila County, but to our entire state and nation. None of this would be possible without Supervisor Woody Klein and other local leaders, and I'm very grateful for their steadfast leadership in seeing this vision through. As a veteran myself, I know firsthand how much our veterans need a place like this to heal and reconnect. In Washington, I introduced H.R. 1829, my first bill back in 2023, to transfer this land from the Forest Service to Gila County and secure its permanent operation. While the legislation stalled in the Senate last Congress, the House passed it again unanimously in February of 2025. Thanks to Senator Mike Lee's leadership, we're finally seeing movement as the bill is passed out of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. All we need now is for the bill to receive a vote on the Senate floor before it goes to the President's desk. We've never been this close. As the only operational veterans center in the region and the first of its kind in northern Arizona, I'm proud of what you've built, and I look forward to visiting again. Thank you all, and may God bless you and your families.
and what he's referencing is Senate Bill S-700, and that bill, I talk with Senator Kelly's legislative director more often than he likes. But 2 weeks ago, he told me that they believe that the Natural Resource Committee had an avenue for it to go to the floor for a vote. Once it goes to the floor for a vote, then, like he said, then it goes for the president's signature. It is the closest we've ever been, and they are very confident that it is going to happen this congressional session. Referencing back to that agenda item in 2022, I do remember that they wanted to set up a nonprofit. My response to that is that I think the county did want to set up a nonprofit, but the county didn't. We set it up. That was not our mission to operate that facility. I think back then that was probably part of the plan, but that's not the nonprofit they're referring to. That's not us. We didn't get set up to do that. You know, in addition to the licensing agreement, getting all the other things, the list of things offside of the licensing agreement that we'd be required to do, would be $150,000 to $170,000 a year that we would have to raise. We're not that kind of nonprofit. We don't have that kind of star power. So that came as a bit of a surprise. So we're a little stymied. So yes, we're going to talk about it. We're going to set up a meeting and we're going to talk with our attorney and talk with the board and see if we can do that. Because at this point in time, that's a lot of responsibility for our little board.
Okay, yeah, but, yeah, as a board member since 23, there was a meeting. Vice Chairman Christensen inquired about the future of this site, to which Chairman Klein responded that the Gila County will eventually own the 232 acres where the veteran retreat is located. The Facilities and Land Management Department is assessing with the property maintenance. Kathy Melvin, Executive Assistant, Administrative Assistant to Supervisor District 3, has established a 501c3 governing board with 11 members that will operate and collect donations for the retreat. Chairman Klein believes it will take approximately 3 years after operating to begin generating the funds needed to run. And I'm not throwing rocks. It's just, it's been painted a picture for many years that there'd be a 501c3. And then there's been back and forth for veterans and their families, or for for other people to be able to use. And so, I do believe that it is for the veterans and veterans' families, but there's constituents using it too, which sometimes I think, well, I don't know how that is with our lease as far as people and others go. Even the RV park, at one conversation, it was, that maybe we would have the RV park. Vice Chairman Klein said the nonprofit will cover the cost of the veterans. Vice Chairman Klein and Supervisor Humphrey raised questions about the RV rate, $20 a night, and then it was discussed later that maybe it should be a little more because non-veterans will have access, since non-veterans will have access, and so I don't know where we're at.
What constituents are using that retreat?
Pardon me?
What constituents are using that retreat?
I don't know. I'm saying this was in a board meeting that led me to believe that it could be used by non-vets.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may.
You may.
I do remember that conversation very well, and I want to put some clarity to it. From the very beginning, the concept of that site had to be for veterans. That's what it had to be for. But in discussions, because the RV park sets on that one side, it had been discussed numerous times to be able to use the RV park only to help fund the retreat, in which anybody could stay there. That was going to be a fundraising mechanism. Forest Service was good with it. Everybody's been good with it. Except I think there was some questions made here more recently, maybe during that conversation, about this non-use permit or special use permit. The rate you're talking about, I remember very clear, because the local RV park there charges like $40 a night for somebody to stay there. And in which, if you read into more of those minutes, you'll hear me say, I didn't want to compete with anybody locally. And so and I don't know where the $20 came from or whatever, but anyway, that was part of that. Now, when we look at the site and we look at the fact that it's in ready to go to the Senate floor, we have currently a special use permit that just got renewed here more recently because of the change in the acreage. The original special use permit reflected 92 plus or minus acres.
Right.
But because there was a bad figure from the very get-go, for many years it was. So that was all redone to reflect the 230 acres. So that special use permit had to be renewed. It was renewed, put in place. There's actually a lease to this site, and has been from the very beginning. It was about $30-some thousand a year.
Close to 40.
But everything that the county puts into this site goes against that lease. So the county's never paid a dime for the property. As far as the lease goes, it's always been washed because of all the effort, the cost, whatever it was put in, overrode all of that. The special use permit is good for 20 years, is what it is. It's good for 20 years. The Forest Service does not want it back. They do not want it back. There's more sites coming up that they can't handle, and they'll be the first to say they don't want it back. It's just a matter of getting it across that finish line in the Senate to get it voted on. We're done. And I got to tell you, I testified in Congress on this site. Nobody had any concerns over it. They asked me about it. What did we see it doing? How's it going to work? Yada yada yada. I explained all that. There was never anybody coming back and saying no, we don't want to give the property up or whatever. It was all positive. I've testified in the state down here for it as well. The state fully supported it, from what I remember, right? Nothing came back against it, and so forth, and that's where Dave Marshall ended up giving us the $3 million. So there is no controversy over where this site is going. And one of the things I really like to point out is, do you guys have any idea what 230 acres with structures, good structures on it, would be worth today, in today's costs? Millions. And we're going to get handed that. It's going to take some time. The government does not work fast, and neither does Gila County. And so it's going to get done. It's going to take some time, and hopefully this is the year, like Kathy's saying, that this happens. But we're going to be handed a site. The county is going to be given a site that's going to be worth absolutely millions. And in order to keep that site, it has to be for our veterans. That's where it is. And going back to the RV park, because the RV park could be designated as a fundraiser to support the Veterans Retreat, we could do that. That was legit. And so, guys, I don't know what else to tell you other than that.
To address the term operate, when we started back with that, so our definition of operate, and when we sat in closed meetings and everything, operating was, we would do the online reservation system, we would do the promotions, and we would organize any of the events, fundraisers, or any other activities out there. That was our definition of operate. I don't know how many of these guys would have volunteered to be on this board if they knew they had to raise $150,000 to $200,000 a year. I wouldn't have been on the board. So that's just my definition of operate. There's a lot of times, there's a lot of things that happen around here that are misunderstandings and misinterpretations. This might be a perfect example. So I don't know if you want to hear from any of these guys who drove all the way down here today.
In a minute. Supervisor Christensen, do you have comments?
Yeah, I do, thanks.
Okay.
And I also have documents of some of the meetings. And maybe there wasn't, and thank you, Kathy, for the presentation and all of the board members for being here. I guess in the meetings, the idea would be, like back in 2022, the comments made by Kathy Melvin said that once the 501 is established and donations occur, it's hoped that the county financial support won't be needed. That's the hope. That's the goal. And later on in 2025, after rates have been established, and we have done that, PVVR Incorporated will be able to apply for grants to help cover the operating costs. Okay, and I don't know if there's been any grants applied for. And so this document here is from Michael, and it talks about the corporation's responsibilities, some of which you reviewed, Kathy, just recently. So reservations and booking, guest management, scheduling, check-in, check-out, veteran programming and events, And then we get to the more expensive parts: cleaning, housekeeping, and interior upkeep, record keeping, monthly reporting, and license fees, and recreational and educational user agreements. So a couple of those items are where I think we're going to end up with the more expensive part. So I know that you've been collecting money. I know that you've had fundraisers, but I have no idea how much money you have. So we're getting to a point where we have to start getting to the final agreement that we've been working toward for a very long time. I guess we can debate what's in the agreement, but we don't know how financially capable you are because we don't have any figures on that. Is anyone willing to offer what's in the checkbook?
Joe is our treasurer. I think part of it is, it's not only how much money we have right now, but how much money we feel like that we can raise. Because most of the money we have are based on 3 galas that we have. We're not having one this year because Payson's a small community. So we felt like hitting that again. We don't have any plans right now for any other big gala type fundraiser. So right now on the horizon, we don't have anything out there. So Joe can give you kind of, we do have, every once in a while, we do get some money from random people, actually. But anyway, Joe is the treasurer. He's good. Take it.
I'm going to start out is, I've been on this board now for 3 years. I'm not a veteran. I'm not a politician. Nobody will ever accuse me of being a politician. What is that? You see what happens when you do that? You guys, most of you guys know my wife. As nice as she is, she kicked me and pushed me down the stairs. So that's because I opened my mouth. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it today too. To answer your question to start with, currently the PVR has $99,000 as a bank balance. But in 2023, the end of the year, we were asked to make an allowance for veterans that could not or would not pay. And so we've been taking and reserving 10% of the revenue that's come in since that point of time. So the available balance is $79,000. We have a reserve account, which is in our bank account, for $19,640. And that would be, and we haven't used a penny for that. Part of that is, I think, the communication between how it's operated currently and through either myself or somebody else. No one ever tells me. And I've asked that question before, but no one ever tells me if somebody comes in and hasn't paid, because I've got $19,000 that we put aside to put to that. But until we can get, and not a licensing agreement, but an operating and lease agreement from the county, all we'd be doing is taking it from this side and putting it on this side, because it just stays within the present Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. I think that the Veterans Retreat is a hell of an economic development project for the county. It's not in Globe, it's not in Miami, it's not in Payson. And unfortunately, access to it is rather difficult, especially in the wintertime. But as you heard from the video there, that is something that the people that have been up there, and at the 2 galas, we've had 3, I've been to 2 of them. The people that have been there just talk highly of that, and you heard it. And so for the county not to take advantage of this opportunity would really, I think, be a poor choice.
Okay, I have a question for you. You said the PVVR. Is there a PVVR 501c3
Yes, sir.
and a PVVR?
No, the one in the same.
They're one and the same. Okay. That's fine. So Yeah, because the 501c3 is separate than the PVVR or the,
PVVR is the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat.
Right.
So that's the name of the facility.
Right.
That the county maintains.
right.
PVVR Inc. is Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat Incorporated.
So there are
So
two
there's
different.
There's two different, one's with Inc. at the end and one's,
Okay, are there two different accounts?
no. He's just, we have like set it, so he just tracks it in his fiscal reports, where any money that comes in, there's just another line item that says 10% of this went over to here. So no, we don't have two different accounts.
So as funds come in, the retreat takes 10% to pay for non-payers, and the rest goes into the 501c3?
Correct, yes.
But the 501c3 has no money in it right now. So accounting is, am I correct? Am I on or off?
No, we
What?
have
No, it has all the money. 'Cause I mean, there,
Okay, the
Inc. is
PVVR,
the-
wait, PVVR retreat has all the money, which is $99,000.
yes,
Well, Inc.
No, he just, I
He
was
does
just
say
told
Inc.
that there's
afterwards.
two different, there's a PVVR retreat, and then there's a PVVR 501c3 Inc.
Correct. So PVVR is the facility. PVVR Inc. is the nonprofit.
Okay,
So PVVR is your property. PVVR Inc. is the nonprofit. And this account is PVVR Inc.'s money, not the county's money, not the retreat's money, but the nonprofit's money.
okay. Okay, so as money comes in, it goes to the PVVR, right? And they're the one, Inc. And they pay the bills to the $2,000 a month to Razor's Edge.
Correct.
And they pay for other things.
Yes. All of the improvements that
CPA
we
firm.
showed, yeah, the CPA that we pay each year to take care of
Okay,
business.
so all of that's coming out of the $99,000 right now.
Correct.
Okay. And so minus 10% of the 99, you got about $70,000 to spend on Razor's Edge and Journeys and those kind of things.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Any other finance questions?
Yeah, I would like to ask, have you applied for grants?
no,
Okay. Is there a reason behind that?
yes.
Okay,
Any entity would ask, under what right would they be giving money to the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat, Inc.? And we didn't have an agreement with the county, so they're just giving it to who knows who. We need the agreement with the county in order to go out and try to secure grants and other additional funding. It's available.
Okay, hold on. Manager Michael O'Driscoll, they need a contract with the county in order to reach out for funds or grants. Do we have that available, or what do we need to get that available for them to be able to reach for monies?
Chairman, members of the board, it's my understanding that as a 501c3, they could reach out to any organization and apply for any grant as far as that goes. So I would like a little bit more clarification from Mr.
Well,
Heatherly as far as that
We
goes.
could, but people are going to look to the validity of your organization. And they're going to say, wow, what are you going to do with that money? What are you going to use that for? And right now, it has not ever been clearly defined what responsibilities we would have, what costs we would be responsible for, and what the county would be responsible for. That needs to be defined and outlined in an operating and lease agreement.
Okay, then I guess the next question, would that be a work session item to see what the board is willing to put the constituents out for, or the 501c3 Inc. out for?
Chairman, members of the board, I think that would be a very good work session to have. Just a little bit of backstory and history with the operating lease. Mr. Joseph Dickinson and I, about 3 years ago, actually created an operating lease between Gila County Not-for-Profit and the previous county administration. Did not go forward with that. And after talking to the county attorneys and outside law firm, it was recommended a lease agreement was not the appropriate way to go forward. It's a licensing agreement, which protects the county's liability and defines in more detail what each organization was to do. So for a work session, if this board wants to go forward with a work session, I could present both options to the board. We already have a draft licensing agreement. And I could dig up the old lease agreement that we came up with several years ago, and then work with either the county attorney or the outside law firm to present the legal pros and cons of both of those, and whether or not we're able to go forward as a government agency with a lease agreement as opposed to a licensing agreement.
Yeah, because
I apologize, sir. Just one last thought is the difficulty here is that we don't own the property, right? That's the legal glitch as far as what legal pathway would protect Gila County from most of the liability issues.
Okay, well, that's the reason that I'm getting into this ballpark is, okay, we passed legislative session and okay, here it is. We're done. No, we're just starting. We're not licensed. We don't have, things. We don't have things set up. So if we don't have a license and we don't own it, or we can't license it unless we own it, it's like, whoa, what have we got? What have we got here other than a great retreat? But I mean, we don't really still have much of a direction because we don't have a licensing deal. And if the attorney says, okay, it's better to go with licensing, then we're back with the federal government. If we're leasing it, can we sublease it? And if that's yes, then I guess that we can do some licensing if our original agreement with the federal government says that we can sublease it. I don't know, Supervisor Klein.
So I think and I may be off on this, but I think that's why the licensing agreement came up, because the county is actually working under a special use permit that gives us the authority from the feds to do what we're doing today. And that was for the interim time while the conveyance was being processed until it's final. And if I remember right, I remember when you guys drafted that agreement, and then it was decided, no, because of the special use permit, a licensing agreement would be better. And that's when we stepped out there and got, I don't remember the attorney's name, but another attorney to come in here and look at. But we have the authority to do what we're doing. We have that from the feds, and we have that from the state. But we just haven't finished that conveyance. It's that half a step that we're waiting for ownership. But in the meantime, that's what the special use permit covers.
Manager O'Driscoll, did you have something to say?
Chairman, members of the board, and Supervisor Klein, I believe you're correct. The issue here is that it's a special use agreement. We're not the landlords. We don't own it. So a lease agreement is typically both between the owner of the property and the person leasing it or renting it. And so that created all sorts of issues because we have this agreement with the U.S. Forest Service, and then there's a question of, can we sublease it? I've talked to the Forest Service, and they're more comfortable with licensing agreement between the not-for-profit and Gila County because it's a lot more specific, and it's not a sublease per se. We're issuing the license to not-for-profit. So it's a different legal pathway, and it also protects Gila County from a lot more liability issues on the back end.
So the government operates on special use permits. We have repeater sites, big ones, special use permits. We have a trailer park in Roosevelt, special use permit. We have, that's like their main thing is special use permits. This one that they wrote isn't anything out of the ordinary. It's on the same form as whatever you want to do with them, it's the same deal. But in the interim time while we're trying to get this conveyance done, that was our path forward to take this site and continue on for the veteran services, yada, yada, yada. So,
Okay, so I guess from my understanding that it's recommended that we can do a licensing agreement. Okay, then what are we gonna need to do? Maybe have a work session on a licensing agreement? Because I would like a whole lot better understanding of where we stand and where we're going if all of a sudden legislation passes. There's a whole lot of expenses, a whole lot of license, a whole lot of things to do, and the 501c3 Inc. needs to apply for funding that right now they're not and can't, and not scheduling fundraisers either. So, yeah, we need to kind of get. We have a lot of support. I've seen it. We have support here. We have a board. We just need to things for start functioning somehow.
Communication.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Communication would be great between the county and the nonprofit.
Okay, and is that been in the past because of management or because of lack of meetings or?
Mr. O'Driscoll just sent us that licensing agreement a week ago, wanted us to sign it, have it ready for next week. Our board needs to have a meeting and we need to have our attorney look at it.
Okay, good. Yeah,
But-
okay.
So that's part of it.
Okay, so, yes, so, okay, so past management, we weren't moving forward with a license, so now we can move forward with a license, so you can put in for funding with your 501c3 Inc., is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make another suggestion as well, or maybe in addition to that? And I don't know who from our board we would want to be involved in this.
Well, if we have a work session, everybody can.
Well, but in a work session, it's hard to get some things done because we have too many people.
You can't have too many people when you're having a discussion about so much. I mean, input's important. We're having a work session today and I've learned things that I never knew before.
Right.
So, can you have too much information?
If you want to get a decision fairly quickly, the answer is yes.
Okay, if you want to have a meeting with the board of PVVR Incorporated, I think that's great. And then we can have a work session with members from the board or a representative from the board. Because sooner or later, we have to get on the same page to make progress. Because we've made progress with the facility, but in communication with who's paying for what and where the facility is going to go and how is it going to go, we haven't made much progress in that world. So maybe the license is a place to start for us to be able to start a little bit of pre-thinking before all of a sudden, if we've got a better chance now than we've ever had in getting it passed with legislation on owning it, but if we own it, it can always only be a veteran center. Okay, that's fine, but we need to figure out what we're going to do with that when we obtain it. Mr. Supervisor Christensen.
Michael, what are we doing on August 4th? What is it we're doing? I thought we were putting forth a licensing agreement. And now we're talking about having a work session on it.
Hey, Chairman and members of the board, I do have the licensing agreement on the board agenda for August 4th. And the idea was to present that to the board and get their approval that this is the licensing agreement you would like to see if the board so chooses. And then give it back to the not-for-profit and let them have their meetings, let their attorney look at it. And if they want any changes to that agreement, then the approval from the August 4th meeting by the board for the licensing agreement would be null and void if that's the direction.
So to me, that's moving forward. We've been jerking with this thing for 5 years, and now all of a sudden, there's a complaint that you've actually pulled something together that we can look at. And that should have been done years ago.
Chairman and members of the board, I've been working on a licensing agreement for over a year.
Right.
And there has been some delays, but we do have, yes, it is.
And so the lack of having that is, if that's an impediment, then it should be celebrated that that's coming. Then you can look at it and we can figure it out from there. To me, that's progress. And so we can debate the different responsibilities. I have another question for you, sir.
Sure.
When you collect money from the veterans that are staying there, does any of that money return to the county based on the fees that we've established? And why is that? Why isn't the county being paid for those folks that are staying there because we've established a fee for that?
There was never any agreement or direction for us to pass that back through to anybody.
No, there's never been a mechanism set up. That's when I talked about in our presentation.
Okay.
The program that we have, that we've been ready to put that online, and that will track how many people per month, how much money, if they paid, they didn't pay. We track that, give you a report, and we write you a check. That's
Okay.
never been put into place.
So
we've been ready for you.
and I apologize if I seem a little frustrated because it's like the information has not flowed in any direction. And that's the frustrating part. And so now I see more clearly the situation the 501's in and the situation the county is in. And I look forward to learning more about how we're going to make this work because I want it to work. I want the 501 to be able to do everything that is required to make this process legal and right, because I think this could be a national gem when it comes to a veterans retreat. But right now, we're in the rapids right now. We haven't, it's rough sailing right now. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Klein?
I'm glad you guys were able to hear this today. I really am. I mean, this is another downfall that I can't talk to you. I can't talk to either one of you. I can't sit there and tell you the inside stuff. I know it because I've been a part of it forever, but we haven't had that ability to discuss it. And I think going forward, even though there's a draft licensing agreement deal that's in the works, I think there's a huge benefit by having a work session with the nonprofit board to see what they can do and can't do before we step into saying, here's what we want you to do, here's what you need to look at, and then get back with us to see what we can do with you, and back and forth several times. I think there's a benefit to outlining it all up front with the nonprofit board in a work session, a setting like this, to iron this out. And once it's ironed out, it's done.
Okay, yeah, if I may. Gentlemen, board members, do you have some input? Would you like to come up to the podium? Or all three of you? This is a work session. You're more than welcome to. Yes, sir, you can. You can all three speak at once. We may not understand you, but you can.
All right, my name's Dave Rogers. I'm a Marine veteran, 2 tours in Vietnam. I donated $10,000, my wife and I, to Veterans Retreat. I was asked to be on the board. I jumped at the chance. I'm appalled at the number of veterans that have been coming here. So my plan is, and I'd like some other people to jump on this, I belong to Marine Corps League. I'm the paymaster for the detachment in Payson. I'm going to write a letter to state adjutant, tell them all about this, have them pass it to all the detachments in Arizona. Then I'm going to get a hold of the national adjutant, pass it to all the detachments in the country. Send all the information we can about it. We're not getting the information out. I'm going to tell you, websites and all that stuff does not work. I've talked to people I know back east, never heard of this thing. So that's what needs to be done. We need to get the word out. The American Legion needs to do the same thing. The VFW needs to do the same. Or you're just going to get a few local people here and there. We've got to get the word out across the country.
Agreed. We need to build the channel first.
Now, there's a big old hairy, long thing. 26 years in law enforcement, I'm not too pleased with attorneys. But there was this big old long thing about this agreement and some of the stuff. My question to that thing was, and maybe you attorneys can answer it, is it that the donations that come in is coming to gets written to the county, or is it still gonna be written to?
Chairman, members of the board, and sir, the county attorney for Gila County doesn't have any part in the licensing agreement.
Okay.
Gila County hired an outside law firm at the recommendation of the county attorney to come up with the licensing agreement. And that's who is doing it. A gentleman by the name of Michael Ostermeyer out of Ballard Spar in Phoenix.
And that's something that the board could talk to the gentleman and ask him where, why, or what.
Well, you're gonna be reading the whole thing on the 4th, I would imagine.
Well, I don't know that we're gonna have a meeting on the 4th.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yes, and so, but
You know,
yeah,
when you get to look at it, I mean,
sure.
I don't understand that gloopity glop from attorneys, but you know, it's something that the few excerpts I get out of it are a little
Right.
bit strange.
But like I say, if you as the board would like to have a meeting with that attorney or with each other to come to a unity so that we could have a work session with our staff and things to try to move forward to, like you say, reach out and touch people, but have a channel of
Right.
where reaching out and touching someone is going to go, because I mean, yeah, if you get floodwaters and you're not ready for it, I'll show you what happens.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for letting us come. Representative Klein, Christensen, Humphrey.
Could you state your name for our ladies?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Art Scherer, and I'm involved in all kinds of stuff with veterans.
Thank you.
I can tell you that in the last 3 years, we raised $5,000 at the Elks. Second year, $10,000. Third year, last year, $15,000. That's $30,000. I can tell you that, and I blame myself. When this first started and got on the board, the whole idea, and I thought everybody pretty much agreed with it, and I think Mr. Klein also, the whole idea was to go ahead and to let veterans come for free because we felt that they have already paid to go. Unfortunately, I think that in our next meeting, we get a meeting, we can rectify that and make sure that there is a fee. It was the thought that they already paid their dues with blood and everything else. Like the gentleman just up here, Purple Heart and stuff like that. We understand that evidently the county or the state can't go ahead and subsidize that. So I think we can change that. I would like to ask that if we could postpone the agreement you were talking about on the 4th until we can get together and figure out what we're doing. Maybe that didn't have to come out. It can wait. Give us a little time to figure out. I think this is great that we're together. I think it's great that it's coming out. And maybe I'm not the best speaker in the world, but I can tell you that with all the different things you're talking about and everything that we do all over this country and all, just remember, we're not speaking German and we're not speaking Japanese. And if it wasn't for the vets, and by God, I know a lot of them, and I know a lot of them that are dying from post-traumatic stress disorder. I have a picture up on my wall that both two guys on the side of each are gone. They're gone. So I think we can get together. I can tell you that Supervisor Klein and Kathy Melvin, I've talked to them, I don't know how often, and their hearts are with us. We owe. I'm a veteran. He's a veteran. We owe our veterans. And I think after getting together like this, I think we can work out something. And if we can postpone that 4th thing until we can get together and figure out what it is we can do. Because I don't believe that our board right now is equipped. I'm 84 years old, and he looks older than I am, but he's younger. But you know, I don't know that we can run it daily. But I know that we can get together. This is one of the greatest things. And what's also so neat about this is not, I hate to be preaching, this is not just Eli Crane. This is Eli Crane. This is Mark Kelly. This was Biggs. This was everybody that is for this. I haven't met one person that said this isn't the right thing to do. And this is not just for Gila County. This is for the whole nation. And boy, Gideon Woody or Gideon Kathy, they have worked their butts off back and forth to Washington and all. And I, for one, and I love all you guys, I, for one, am just honored to know these people. Thank you very much for listening. Sorry for the preaching.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Afternoon.
Steve, Woody, it's nice to see you guys. I want to thank you very much for the meeting today. I want to thank you for the opportunity for us to come here today. I've learned quite a bit myself, and I fully agree with what Congressman Crane said. You guys are putting something together that is going to be a marvelous opportunity for veterans. Steve, Mr. Christensen, I agree with you 100% when you say that this can be a gem for Gila County and the state of Arizona. There's a lot of things that we still need to do. We need to get the license agreement. We need to look at that. I'm so happy with what I've seen here today. And again, I want to thank you. I want to talk a little bit about funding. One of the reasons I believe that we as a board have not looked at major funding is because we don't own the property yet. And that's not a hindrance. To me personally, I'm going to go after some very big monies. I have a friend who borrowed $58,000 to start a company, and he's today worth about $7 or $8 billion. So I fully intend to go after him to help fund. I have a list of about 15 corporations that I'm going to be going after for funding. So funding, I don't think, is going to be a major problem for us. I think that Dave and Art also are looking at the funding situations. And again, I'm excited over the fact that we are closest right now we've ever been to be able to obtain this property for Gila County. I don't know of any other county who can say that all of a sudden they received 230 acres of property. You know, it's easy to get property to go away. It's extremely difficult to get property to come in. So I just wanted you to know that I appreciate each and every single one of you. I truly appreciated, Chairman, the questions that you presented today, Mr. Christensen and Mr. Klein, with reference to all of the comments that you made. And I look forward to another work session where we can talk about some things. And I look forward to working with each and every single one of you. And I want to thank you again for the work session today.
Thank you very much for coming down and participating. Communication is very, very important. Supervisor Klein, do you have?
No, I agree with everything these gentlemen have said, and I really like the discussion today. I think there's obviously things we need to get in order, but I don't see it being a real big problem, honestly. And so,
good. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank all of you gentlemen for coming. Your comments were great. I'm not sure we need to necessarily dismiss the introduction of the item for next Tuesday. We're not necessarily enacting it. Is it something we're voting on, or is it something that we're going to put together and then allow review to work it out?
Chairman, members of the board, Supervisor Christensen, it is a final drafted licensing agreement that the board will act upon, vote on. And if the majority of the board votes on the licensing agreement, it's not necessarily the licensing agreement that will be implemented. If it goes back to the not-for-profit and not-for-profit doesn't want to sign it, or their attorney wants to make some major changes or even some minor changes, any change to the licensing agreement on August 4th will make that null and void. And I'll have to come back in front of the board with a licensing agreement with the changes. So the August 4th is basically asking the board to consider approving the licensing agreement and letting the not-for-profit know that this is the agreement that the board would like to see.
So from that, I get that it's a necessary step that we either vote for it or against it so that we can move forward with the process.
That's what I'm asking the board to consider.
Because if we don't do that, then it's just still in limbo.
Correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If we vote on it, then we're making a commitment to go forward with a licensing agreement with the board or the PVV or Inc. But that doesn't have to be brass tacks. I mean, in other words, then by us making that commitment, they can come back with a counter offer.
Chairman, members of the board, that is correct.
Okay.
Or if their board decides financially they can't take on these responsibilities, there is another option for the board to go out for bid to other not-for-profits to run this Veterans Retreat as well.
But by us making a commitment to it, then therefore we can once it's on the table, then we can accept a counter, just like selling a house or whatever. It's like, here's what I want for my house, and then they can come back and say, well, here's what we'll give you for your house.
Chairman, that is absolutely correct.
Okay, good. So anyway, we can get a commitment going so that at least from that point on, we can hopefully go forward. Again, it's been a good meeting, a very necessary meeting. I know I was getting confused and a little bitter about everything that was going on and nothing going forward. So this was a good meeting in my opinion. And I will never stop cursing past management for this taking 5 years to happen. But in the same breath too, we as a small county or not a lot of taxable income because we live on 3.5% of our tax base because of all these beautiful panoramic views. We have a budget to also look after. And we've got a lot of young families living in the world today that the gas stations and the grocery stores and the things are burdening them pretty heavily. So as we work out and go forward, I do believe it's a gym. I do believe it should happen. I think there's people out there that will fund it. We have to create a channel for them. But at the same time, we don't need to put the burden on a lot of these challenged families as we go forward. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may just.
You may.
And I don't want to confuse things because I see what you're saying there. But the more we go back and forth on a license agreement, the more it's going to take time. And it may take lawyers to review it on both sides, which, you know, the one that's drafted it to begin with have to review it and it costs more money and yada, yada, yada. So the only thing I want to throw out there is if we could just have the work session to secure the licensing agreement between everybody, we only do that once. And it comes in front of an agenda for us and we're done. That's what I would throw out there.
Okay, Um, so if that's all we've got on this one, then I'm gonna go forward. Is everyone good? Oh, you wanna speak?
No, sir, if you're gonna move off of the PVVR, I'm gonna head back to Payson.
Okay, have a very safe trip. You have precious cargo with you.
Peace. I'm driving.
Uh-oh, oh
Yeah.
gee. No, I'm
That's
kidding,
it.
I'm kidding.
May we come up and shake your hand?
You may.
The old cops driving, but please don't get back to the go.
Yeah, no, I've ridden with you before.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay, now we have call to the public. We have no one in Payson, I can see that. Do we have anyone in Globe that would care to speak? No. Do we have anyone on the internet?
No, sir.
How many did we have today?
Total views of 98.
98?
Yes.
Thank you all very much for participating in our Board of Supervisors meeting to show interest in what we try to do for you. So thank you for being here today. And then if there's nothing else, summary of current events, Mr. O'Driscoll, would you like to go first?
Chairman, members of the board, just one quick update. I believe Joseph Dickinson, who's been our facility director, he has been offered and he has accepted the Public Works Director position. And we've had lengthy conversations about some of the priorities. And I believe I sent that to all of you, the priorities for Public Works. We all know both landfills have to be looked at closely as far as expansion and those kinds of things. The roads, and some other, in particular the fleet system. So he's going to have his work cut out for him, but we're excited to have him on board, which leaves us a hole in our facility department that we're going to try and fill so we don't delay any of the capital projects that Joseph has jump-started for us over the last 2 months. And that would be my update, sir.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Well, thank you. I had a meeting with the Coalition of Counties the other day. Very good meeting. It was held in Thatcher down there. They were down there. I wasn't able to be there in person. I was there on Zoom. But one of the things that came out of this meeting that I think is very beneficial to our county is in the form of threatened and endangered species. And there's a rewrite of the Fish and Wildlife Service in the NEPA process where now they're saying a species has to be present in these areas. So like your alpacs and things like that we've dealt with for years, willow flycatchers, all of that, if they're listed as habitat and they have to be operated as such, that species has to be present. So going forward, I see that as a huge benefit to Gila County.
That's it. Okay, Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you for asking, but I don't have any more to add.
Okay, I've got a little bit, but I've got a couple letters that were written to the county. And this is from One Way Electric Incorporated, Gila County Building Safety Department. To whom it may concern, One Way Electrical and its associates extend our sincere gratitude to everyone who assisted us throughout the permit process. Jennifer Flores and Amber Boucher were always available to address our questions and concerns, while Jeremy Elmer provided invaluable guidance regarding the floodplain requirements. We also greatly appreciate Inspector Keith Brown, who patiently waited while we ran to the hardware store for the proper lag bolts. In all municipalities operated with this level of teamwork and support, the world would be amazing. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, sincerely. So thank you, staff. And another one, last week, District 2 passed on concerns from a Tonto Basin resident, Alma Wolf. She called in regards to a suspected sewer leak and her washed out driveway. She called this morning to say thank you to all the staff who worked to correct and investigate these issues. Alma said that everyone was incredibly helpful, professional, caring, and kind. I want to thank everyone who participated in helping Alma. You guys make the county a great place to live and work. Thank you. Staff, thank you very much. Thanks for management for managing staff to have that attitude. It's a breath of fresh air. And I met with Joseph at a very good meeting. I appreciate Joseph and his efforts and all he's done for the county. I did a walkthrough at the Cobra Valley Hospital. They have a new clinic there in Walmart. We did a walkthrough in that. That was a nice deal on the 22nd. And I'll hold a Tonto Basin community meeting on the 4th. And last I knew, the Russell Gulch landfill was closed. Again, darn past management for not doing it to the footprint that it should have been. So anyway, if no one else has anything further, then I will go to agenda item 7, which is request for future agenda items. Supervisor Klein. Okay.
Fine as well, thank you.
Okay, I think I'm good for now. So if no one has anything further, thank you all very much. I will adjourn today's meeting. Have a great day. Travel safe.